All right. Good morning. Good afternoon. I should say it's 12 noon. In fact, right on the dot. It is Saturday, May 23rd, 2026. It is Memorial Day weekend. And this is a weekend in which we remember soldiers' lives that were lost in war. I certainly know my grandfather. Both of them served in World War II. And I certainly remember my grandfather's stories about, death that he witnessed, death that he saw, and definitely carried that weight with him the rest of his life. So that's why we remember this. They have this weekend to remember those who fought and died for our country, which is what this weekend's all about. So again, to every member of our armed forces that ever served our country, it doesn't matter if it's at the very dawn of the military history in the United States or right up through today. And into the weekend, we thank everyone that's laid their life down for our country. Not easy going to war and fighting. A lot of these men and women that have fought for our country have done so in significant wars. Some, just in the natural call of duty. But we thank our those who served our country and fought and died, and thank them for their life. What they contributed by giving their life, basically, in that sense. I know my grandfather. I know one of my grandfathers more than the other. He had he had some stories. He didn't really tell them, but towards the end of his life, he started to tell them. The last couple of years he was alive, he didn't say anything in the 80s and 90s, but then at some point in the 2000s, those stories started to come to the front of he'd share more about it, and not wonderful. My grandfather was actually a Purple Heart recipient. He was shot in the toe. I didn't believe him when I heard the story when I was 4 or 5. I thought he was lying. But he goes, "Yeah, I was shot in the foot." I'm like, "No, you weren't." He actually was. He actually was shot in the toe during a shootout that erupted at night when he fought overseas in Italy. Yeah. We're fortunate he came back. Obviously, I wouldn't be in existence. So it's war's a serious thing, and you look at those those memorials all around your towns, with all the names that are listed, and that's a list of people that never came back from World War I, World War II, the Korean War, Vietnam War, war in Iraq, multiple other wars, of course. I'm sure these people never came back. These are people that never, their offspring never got to live on. Because they were never produced. That's a sad story. That's tragic. I hate it. But again, that's why we remember this weekend. It's a great weekend to enjoy the summer, have a lock weekend, of course. But at the end of it all, it is about remembering those people that laid down their life for this country. Some of my favorite movies to watch are not Heartbreak Ridge, Saving Private Ryan, Black Hawk Down are a couple of my favorite war movies historically. But yes, thank you guys for tuning in to Maza Media. It's Saturday afternoon, 12:04 on the East Coast, May 23rd, 2026. We are live today. A lot to talk about on tap for today. We're going to be talking about the Turtleboy fundraiser from last weekend. We're going to be talking about Karen Reed's Lexus selling. We're going to be talking about Lucky Loughran. We're going to be talking about the Massachusetts State Police changes as it pertains to Enrique Delgado Garcia. And we're going to be talking about Kevin O'Malley as well, as David Yannetti had some updates for us. Tomorrow at 6 p.m., we're back live. We're having a Karen Reed fundraiser, a Kelsey Fitzsimmons fundraiser. That Kelsey Fitzsimmons fundraiser will be at 6 p.m. again on Sunday night, or Sunday evening. And then in addition to that, we're going to be having several guests. Attorney Mullen Laws joining us, Lauren from Common Sense Investigators joining us, the Glare is joining us, and probably some other people will be joining us as well. We have a couple people that are, I'll let you know when we get closer to the time. But we'll start off with the Turtleboy fundraiser from last weekend. I joined it briefly for about a half an hour. It was a very, very interesting 30 minutes. That I was on it for, just to be on a panel. I've been on a panel with Turtleboy before. I've been on a panel with Melanie Little before. Had not been on a panel with David Yannetti, which was very interesting. So that was absolutely an experience, of course, to say the least. Definitely enjoyed my time on that panel last weekend. And, again, it's an opportunity to fight for justice. It's an opportunity to get out there and really what I believe is an extension of the Karen Reed case is basically a journalist went out there and fought to get a story out there, popularize that story. And that was a big deal. That was a big deal. Got people like myself involved in this case. Got many other people involved in covering this case. So Caidyn Carney, obviously, for reporting. Obviously, you saw how they went after him. They showed up at his house, they arrested him, and all that. But that fundraiser last weekend was huge. I mean, it was over $80,000. The goal was $50,000, and boy, did that number go up astronomically. There was no question about that at all. That was a big number, and I know I know when you look at Twitter. Twitter is obviously like pro Turtleboy, anti Turtleboy. There was a lot of anti Turtleboy stuff throughout the weekend from people that are free Karen Reed, right? We know about that. There were some people that came at me, had some things to say to. I had a few things said my way as well. Some people were messaging me on my posts, and people had a few choice words for me for being on Turtleboy's fundraiser. But look, it's when you're a content creator, when you're in this world. You're going to get criticized. People are not going to like every move you make. You're going to get that criticism. It's unfortunate, but that's just the way life is, right? That happens. So, I just grin and bear it. Because I'm focused, like I said before, and I'll say again, I'm focused on justice. I'm focused on justice for John O'Keefe, Karen Reed's continual success, Caidyn's continual success, and then obviously, Kelsey Fitzsimmons has been another story that I've followed and taken on in recent history as well. So that's, it can be tough. Look, it can be a lot of criticism, but I kind of tune it out. I tune it out because, again, I just feel regardless of whatever division there is out there, these stories at the end of the day, if you look at the civil suit that's coming against Caidyn and Karen, and you look at the 4 names that are filing that civil suit, at the end of the day, they don't really care if the Karen Reed, the pro Karen Reed anti Turtleboy people or the pro Karen Reed pro Turtleboy people are having a disagreement. They don't care about any of that. They don't like Karen Reed. They don't like Turtleboy. They hate them both. Okay, they're trying to sue them both, and that's how I look at it at the end of the day. This is a contention, a contentious battle among 2 groups, which is the people that think Karen Reed's free, innocent, and the people that think Karen Reed's guilty. And that's how I've always looked at it. And I don't apologize for it. I'll never apologize for it. Look, I understand there's people that have differences. I completely understand it, respect it. But at the end of the day, I don't think Caidyn Carney should go to jail or prison. I don't think he should be sued and have to pay out anybody money. I don't think he should have to do that. I don't think Karen Reed should have had to have gone to jail, prison, whatever. I don't care if Karen, I'm not going to stand by and see Karen Reed get sued either. So at the end of the day, categorically, I don't, and I've said this before, I said again, I don't focus on what's going on in the Twitter sphere. You know what I'm saying? This is about justice. When I joined this whole thing, it was for fighting for justice for Karen Reed, freedom for Karen Reed, justice for John O'Keefe. Turtleboy, when he was reporting, they came at him, and that's it. And again, people don't have to like it. There was obviously a lot of criticism for a lot of the guests. It happens. It's a part of it comes with the territory. You have to have thick skin. You have to be willing to have people tell you, all kinds of negative things about you. It happens out there. It's a part of being, when you come on camera, you put your face out there, you're smiling, it's going to come your way. There's just no avoiding it. It's just people going to say, Maza Media looks like this. Maza Media looks like that. Maza Media sounds, they took my head and said I look like Jared Fogle from Subway, the anti-Karen Reed people. And they started putting my face on memes with Karen in a Subway shop. And you had crusty panties saying I look like Jared Fogle, which I don't. And I mean, which is crazy because you have to figure if people think I look like Jared Fogle, which isn't true, then how could these people possibly be trusted to tell you if Karen Read's innocent or not? If they can't possibly assess how I look, then how can they possibly assess if Karen Read's innocent? That's how I've always looked at it. But you have to have the thick skin. You have to have the ability to laugh. You have to have the ability to be like, Maza Media is a wimp. Maza Media is a coward. Maza Media is a sellout. Maza Media should be on Team Karen Read, Turtleboy. You have to endure that. Or Mazza's a coward for being on, pro Karen Read, pro Turtleboy. You have to endure. You have to just take it and grin and bear it. People are going to have their opinion. You cannot change those opinions. I think everybody has the right to their opinion, whether I agree with it or not. But again, when you go online, when you go on a Turtleboy fundraiser, get ready, because they're gonna criticize you. And the people that don't like Turtleboy, that are anti Karen Read as well, they're gonna go, oh, there's Mazza among other 20 other people, and everybody that went on the fundraiser is deplorable. That's just the way it is. It's unfortunate. You can't change people's opinions, and they have the right to their opinion at the end of the day. So that's that. But again, I have the right to my opinion, right? I have the right to my belief system. What I'm focusing on is justice. I believe in fundraisers. I believe in fundraisers for Karen Read. I believe in fundraisers for Turtleboy, which is why I did a joint, that famous night. I did a live stream that was demonetized. No money came into that video at all, and just basically supported both fundraisers that night, because I support Karen Read, I support Turtleboy, and that's the end of the story. And it's about justice, because at the end of the day, those fundraisers to help them both take on the anti-Karen Read people, the people that many of you speculate or believe wholeheartedly are the people that are involved in what happened to John O'Keefe and the framing of Karen Read. And those, to me, that's what those fundraisers are about. That's what those GiveSendGos are about. And that's what Turtleboy's GiveSendGo is about. And, obviously the people showed up. You look at the viewership. That video, I think, had over 100,000, 150,000 views. That fundraiser was projected initially to, or set as a goal to have $50,000 in funds raised. They hit that in, I think, about 6 or 7 hours. They had hours where $10,000 to $13,000 were raised. Jess Machado reported about $10,000 was raised during her hour. I was there for about a half an hour. About $1,700 was raised during that 30-minute block. During the full Melanie Little, David Yannetti block, I think it was $13,000 had come in that hour, which was incredible. I ended up donating during the Broken Baker hour, right after I got off the panel. I made a donation as well. But that was great. There were a lot of great guests. It was well organized. Caidyn had been reaching out to me throughout the week. We were trying to narrow down a time, that would be best for him. He had asked me for 10 o'clock. I was going to be originally a part of the content creators group after 10 o'clock. Because of my work schedule, 10 o'clock is really late for me on a Sunday. On Saturday night, I would have been able to do 10 o'clock, but because of Sunday, I got to get up early for work, very early. So I just said, I can do anything between 12 and 6. He says, can you drop in for 30 minutes? I said, sure, I'll drop in for 30. So I joined the David Yannetti, Melanie Little segment. And that was a great segment to be a part of. I only caught bits and pieces of the fundraiser throughout the night. I was out and about, went out for a massive walk Sunday. I think I might have hit the weights as well, but it was a great time. And I always have to mentally, when you come into a fundraiser with such esteemed guests as Melanie Little and David Yannetti, I was my biggest strategy was I have to make sure when I come on the show that I don't, that I try to match the energy, and I don't come up too high energy, and I don't, talk too much, so I always kind of try to balance that out. So I'm I have to make sure I come in with good balance, say a few things at first, then just wait to be, asked to speak. And that's how I kept it. And I enjoyed it. It was an honor being on that show with that panel. It's an honor always raising money. We raise a lot of money here at MazzaMedia, and additionally to join Turtleboy in his efforts to help him succeed, and not being sued. Not having to not losing a case, being able to afford his attorneys was huge. And then again, sitting with David Yannetti for the first time. Melanie Little has been on this program to help raise funds for Kelsey Fitzsimmons, I think once or twice. And then David Yannetti, which was great. So it was good to see David Yannetti. Good to hear what he had to say. Good to hear him talk about everything that he's been doing. And again, just some of his thoughts about, the case as well, as it went on. And one of the most interesting things I learned was about Bob Alessi's origin into the whole case was that actually David Yannetti had represented, I believe, a family member of Bob Alessi. And then he found out Bob Alessi was also an attorney and was concerned about, not knowing Bob at the time, some potential meddling, like another attorney would try to like watchdog him. And then he ended up finding out that Rob Alessi was like a really great guy. And also was a very nice contributor as well. And that kind of spurred a friendship throughout all of this. Bob Alessi being from New York, and then you have Dave Yannetti from Massachusetts. You had Bob Alessi come in and join the team. And I always noticed, because I didn't know this story, I always noticed that Dave and Bob seem to always be kind of like really like, bros. They always seem like bros throughout the whole second trial. And when I heard the background, so I'm like, oh, that makes sense. These guys really knew each other well. I didn't know if maybe they went to law school together. Maybe they had been in the same firm together at some point. Didn't know any of that story. But to hear how that all came to be was very interesting. And Bob Alessi was an amazing contributor to Karen Reed's second trial. And, we talked about that before. All these attorneys were great, but there's such a large workload, and every witness that they faced was such a critical witness, where cross-examination or direct examination, whichever it was, needed to be extremely thorough. And it takes a lot of work and a lot of time and a lot of research. This was not, Karen Reed's story was not a 1 hour and 10-minute movie. It was like the old VHS tapes at the video store that it was a double box. It was like two VHS tapes. Okay. It was a lot of work, and it was just great to see that whole team work together and really endure an intense set of circumstances. I honestly don't think as negatively about Judge Beverly Cannoni anymore. I always can't stand her, don't like her, but Judge Kathleen McCarthy Naaman is now the judge I despise the most of all the judges I've seen. What was interesting was that David Yannetti also talked about the bail that was set by Judge Beverly Cannoni at about $100,000 when Karen Reed was originally arrested. And that story was very intriguing, because they had said that, if she had set that bail even higher, maybe doubled or tripled it or even quadrupled it, that could have caused a lot of financial issues for Karen Reed, because at that time, that support wasn't there. The notoriety, people knew about the story to some degree, but there was no movement. There was no Free Karen Reed's, movement. There was no Turtleboy. There was no All of Us, whether you wore pink shirts, wherever you stood with signs, content creators, etc. None of that really existed back then. But with all that said, the the money being about $100,000 for bail allowed Karen to get out. Now, God forbid that had been so high she could have never have footed the bill. She would have never had the opportunity to, be more vocal, do research on her own time. How much research did she do to find Alan Jackson, Liza Little? Those were all critical moments. And David Yannetti said one of our biggest wins early on, or one of our biggest wins in general, was the fact that, good morning, Heather, was the fact that that bail wasn't set any higher than what it was. And as a result of that, Karen Reed was able to get out of jail. She was able to be at least free in a sense that she could navigate around where she needed to navigate around to, and not have to worry about being behind bars talking to David Yannetti all the time, which would have been critical, which would have been a really issue, which would have caused a lot of limitations. When you look at Kelsey Fitzsimmons and you look at her time spent locked up, in Western Mass or in the hospital handcuffed to her bed, it was very difficult for her to talk to her family. It was very difficult for her to talk to her lawyers, right? There's a level of restriction. You can only talk to people so long, so forth and so on. So if Karen Reed had been placed in a situation where bail was set so high that she couldn't afford it, and again, the fundraising wasn't there back then, this would have been a critical situation for Karen Reed that would have been a lot tougher. So David Yannetti said that bail being set at $100,000 was an early win for the defense team and one of the biggest wins for the defense team because it allowed her to get out. And that was a big statement, I thought. That was a really big statement, I thought, to learn that, because it's just amazing, knowing that this story would have never maybe picked up. And Judge Beverly Cannoni early on, could have really delivered a bigger hammer in the terms of how much bail was set at. But, at the end of the day, things panned out in Karen's favor, which we're blessed to hear and which she was blessed with. So we're happy about that, obviously, and we're all happy to help. And that almost a year ago now, she was walking out of that courthouse a free woman. And in a matter of weeks here, that 1 year probation is about to expire too. So that's great news. Nefarious and Nancy, good afternoon. Thank you for joining the show. Be sure to like and subscribe. Do appreciate that, guys. Thank you so much for joining us here today. A lot of topics to go over, and we got plenty to cover. So, yeah, I mean, end of the day, David Yannetti had a lot of interesting things to share about Karen and kind of about a little bit going into how that all happened. And it was interesting. When I spoke, one of the things I wanted to mention when I went on the show was just about how one of the biggest statements I had always made on Twitter was in regards to the fact that, what happened to Karen Reed was meant to be quiet. It was meant to be concealed. It was meant to be, let's just box this woman in. Let's say she did it. Let's try to convince her she did it, and then have her plea out. And then that's it, right? Let the girl take the fall. That was kind of their approach, but that's not how it panned out. It ended up exploding into a massive story, a major story, and ended up, causing a major movement with over $1 million donated, and still growing to this day, which was amazing, which was absolutely incredible. And I got to say that was an unbelievable, run that we absolutely had. So I overall felt that this was for her just a blessed thing, blessed for all of us. We were all blessed to help her. But David Yannetti sharing some of the stories was very incredible, and just the early on. But for me, the way I've always looked at it is those people that were involved, I'm talking the state police, that were involved in covering this up and framing Karen Reed, they thought that they could get away with that. And while all of us were on Twitter, especially in 2023 or YouTube on 2023, I wasn't on YouTube at the point. We all, us, okay, we all would say like Karen Reed was framed because it's a cover up, because we think this happened because, Caidyn would post his article saying this is what happened. And the anti-Karen Reeds would be out there. Anti-Karen Reed people will be out there saying, no, it's Karen Reed did it. And we go back and forth all the time. And they're like, oh, you guys think this is some major conspiracy. You guys think all these people were involved. This is something that they still try to refute to this day, that Karen Reed and her people and her supporters are a bunch of conspiracy theorists and a bunch of nut jobs that just believe anything. But the fact of the matter is throughout 2023, well, Aiden Carney is actively trying to go out there and say, hey, this is a cover up. This is a conspiracy. We're all out there doing the same exact thing. you start to see something happen. And I've always said this, what happened to Karen Read under the cover of darkness, before we all watched, before David Yannetti was their attorney, before Caidyn Carney ever talked about this, before anybody else ever came into the fold to help out Karen Read, represent Karen Read, whomever, people standing out there with signs. Before that ever happened, what happened to Karen Read happened in a controlled, out of control environment that was isolated to that day, that night. What happened in Canton, what went down on that mysterious night, right? And it was her all by herself. There was no Turtleboy. There was no David Yannetti, no Alan Jackson, no you, no me. There is no you. There's only me. No, I was kidding. 9 Inch Nails reference. But that was her at her most isolated. Her in handcuffs, her under arrest, her not knowing not even knowing what happened to John, not having pieced it all together yet, not knowing that eventually, there'd be all this support behind her. And throughout that entire time, none of us were wise in real time, like David and Eddie, Turtleboy, myself, all of us, none of us in real time got to see what happened to Karen Read happen. Other than when the initial arrest started to happen, other than when Tully started to go back to her house for a phone, all that we saw in real time. But the initial stuff in January 29th, we didn't see in real time. So it was always like going back and researching and learning what Karen told Yannetti, when he got that call that day, with some information about inside the house, then it started to unpeel like an onion. And we started to all realize, David Yannetti started to realize, his defense team started to realize, Turtleboy started to realize, Karen even started to realize some stuff. Even Karen was realizing stuff, looking back, and as the weeks and days and weeks unfolded, Karen Read would look back and say, my God, this is something that happened. This is something that, must have happened or whatever, right? So that was not in real time. But what was in real time were the very officers, your Tullys, your Uris, your whomevers, literally going to Holden to arrest Caidyn in 2023 in October, and then arresting him again in December. And you saw it in real time. You're like, oh my God, look at this unfolding. Caidyn's literally out there on his YouTube stream saying, I might get arrested. These people might actually come after me. This might actually happen because I'm revealing all this stuff. I'm saying all this stuff, whatever he said, right? And then these guys literally show up one morning in October 2023. And for the first time ever, in real time, we got to actually see what we've all been theorizing. These people are after Karen Read. They're doing this, this, and that. Now, all of a sudden, they're coming to Caidyn Carney's house. All these charges, all this stuff going on. And it was like, that, as much as I believed in Karen Read's innocence, October 2023, and especially December 2023, made me more of a believer. Because I said, oh my God. They just came out of the woodwork to go after Caidyn Carney because of the Karen Read story. And it was at that moment that showed you that they wanted to keep a lid on that story as much as they possibly could. They wanted a lid on Karen Read. She had been talking with Caidyn, obviously, to some degree. Caidyn started covering the story. That blew up on his channel. His channel got bigger. His blogs got bigger. And his story went through the roof, right? And all that said, now all of a sudden they're coming after him for reporting. And if that didn't at that point convince anybody, or if that did not convince more people about what was going on, I don't know what does. And that's what made me call in to a show the night he was arrested in 2023, December 27th. I think it was. I called into a show that night live on YouTube, and basically gave my opinion about what had happened. And I said, all this does is validate the arrest of Turtleboy, validated everything we ever said about what had happened to Karen Read. And that was absolutely for sure. There was no question about that at all. None. And I was absolutely convinced that from that point on, I'm like, okay, look, if you had any doubt about Karen Read being framed or this being a cover up, you just saw those guys come out of the woodwork for Aiden Carney. They literally arrived on his doorstep. They came right out, and there's no question about that at all. And that was something that, for me, I looked at. And so I'm going to see if I can actually find this clip. The ads keep playing because I don't actually subscribe to YouTube. Well, here it is. Okay, I'm gonna play this clip here. Let's get this shared. I'm gonna play this. Playing clips. Sorry, get me the link. I want the. Here it is. All right, there we go. All right, there we go. Okay, this is when I bring this up. Now, I know Turtleboy's heard me say this on Twitter before, but I was interested. The reason why I wanted to bring this up is because I thought it was a good topic of conversation that tied in the Turtleboy world and the Karen Read world. But I was also saying this too because I was intrigued because this is a topic of conversation I've always wanted to have with Karen Read's attorneys. So I had this opportunity here. So let's go here. Back it up a little bit.
Problem is, how elections work. But anyway, so what's up, Mazza? You got any thoughts on any of this? You've been watching all this?
Oh yeah, I'm watching quite a bit of this. I went out for a nice hour walk, and I was listening in to say about a lot of the things you've been going through. It's just for me, one of the thoughts I had coming into the show, knowing that David Yannetti would be on when I was able to join, was just kind of for me how I came into this whole story, which was a Turtleboy, an article by yourself that I found in April, May of 2023, and as I started to follow the case, learn about the story, all of that. I bought into it very quickly because the story made sense to me. What was happening to Karen, all the facts seemed to be backed up by that. But then in October of 2023, we saw the escalation, the footage you played earlier in your program, where these officers, some of them the very same officers that had apprehended Karen, were now appearing at your doorstep, appearing in your home. And for me, as someone, you look at David and Eddie right there. I didn't really notice this during the live, but watch David Yannetti during your program, where these officers, some of them the very same officers that had apprehended Karen, were now appearing at your doorstep, appearing in your home. And for me, you see David Yannetti right there. That's I'd have to imagine, because I always thought, what I've always been interested in knowing, from Yannetti, from Jackson, is what was their reaction to Aiden's arrest, because these men had already been fighting and defending Karen Read. And now Aiden, through his coverage, an extension of that story, an extension of that fight, was now, they're now seeing him, the Turtleboy out there. And now all of a sudden, these same cops that they're getting ready to take on in court in a couple months are literally outside Aiden Carney's doorstep. And it's just, I always was intrigued because I always knew Aiden's perspective. I always knew my theories, but I was intrigued. And when I knew I was going to be on this show and David and Eddie was going to be on there, I said, I gotta, if I say one thing on this show, if I have one moment to speak, I gotta make that statement. I gotta make that statement because I want to know what their perspective was on that, how they were reacting, because to me, I felt like what had happened to Aiden only further validated every argument they were trying to make in defending Karen Read. And that was interesting. I see David Yannetti right there, his head kind of react. We'll play it back in a sec, but it was it was huge. It must have been huge, for them to look at this and say, look at this. I mean, because you're sitting there all the time and you're like, we believe Karen was framed. We believe she's innocent. We believe this is a cover-up. And then all of a sudden, you're literally seeing the same persecution that happened to Karen Read happen to Turtleboy in real time. And it was like, there you go. There you have it. played earlier in your program, where these officers, some of them the very same officers that had apprehended Karen, were now appearing at your doorstep, appearing in your home. And for me, as someone that was a Karen Read supporter, that had already, probably for about 6-7 months at that particular point, was already battling all the antis online. Now you see in real time what we've only heard about. Every story about Karen Read was always told after the fact. In other words, whatever happened, whatever she was accused of, happened in the past and was actively being fought for in the present. But with you, what was happening with you is your persecution was happening live before every single person that was already a Karen Read supporter. And we were literally seeing some of the same characters involved in your arrest. And again, in December, just days after Christmas, in 2023 as well. And for me, I thought that this is what took a story where it was controversial and really blew the top off of it, because now all of a sudden you have someone that's has nothing to do with the case at all, that's simply out there being a journalist, covering the story, writing about the story, doing YouTube shows about the story. And now all of a sudden they're trying to hunt him down too. And for me, this just amplified this story into something unimaginable. And it just only further validated what you had been saying in your blogs, what David Yannetti, Alan Jackson, Liza Little, and Karen Read had been saying outside of the courthouse, which was Karen Read didn't do this. Because if she did do it, none of this wild stuff would happen. It's because she didn't do it. It's because there was a cover-up. It's because there was a frame job that all of this madness was happening. Because why in the world would anybody fear an investigative journalist if everything he was saying was wrong? And any information that the defense, such as Mr. Yannetti and company, were saying, if it was wrong, then they'd have nothing to fear. They'd have no reason to fear Karen Read. They'd have no reason to fear Aiden Carney. And on top of that, they'd have no reason to fear every single person like myself and so many others, like the Glare Nurse Kim, Melanie Little, and others that were talking about Karen in a favorable light, including you in your case as well, Aiden. Those are my thoughts.
Man, you're so good. Your rants are underrated, man. That's
Thank
such
you.
a good rant.
Thank you.
But it's
And
so
they had to
true.
lock you up to shut you up.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what.
Right. So that's interesting. That's the first time I've listened back on that segment. But that we'll play David Yannetti. I think David Yannetti responds to that, I think, as well. But that was, to me, that's kind of how I'd all tie it in together, is what they did to Karen, what everyone's been saying they did to Karen. When you look at it in real time, they were literally doing that to Turtleboy. These everything people were saying about Telly and Yuri and all these people, they were literally out there going after Turtleboy the same way they had gone after Karen. And what's even crazier is that Aiden Carney is not. He's not attached to this case. He's no different than Ted Daniel, who recently knocked on a judge's door a week and a half ago. Okay. He's out there covering this story, and all of a sudden they're showing up at his house. That was just, to me, absolutely wild. And that's why I started to, after he went to jail, that's when you started to see me on YouTube. I was on Twitter for the most part, but I started calling in shows, started getting invited on as a guest on shows. And it was just like, man, that was nuts. That was absolutely crazy. It's why, and I heard myself say it there. I forgot I mentioned that, made that point. If Karen Read was guilty, like in fact guilty, truly guilty, whatever, like for example, whatever they said was a fact, they wouldn't go after Aiden Carney. This wouldn't be, they wouldn't keep going after her phones. What do they do? Arrest her twice? They wouldn't keep double dipping, upping the charges, modifying the story like that, going after Turtleboy for covering the case. None of this is happening. I mean, you look at story after story after story. When have you ever heard an investigative journalist? You can call him a blogger, you can call him a content, whatever. When have you ever heard about them being arrested? And it's like, my God, they went right through the front door of his house, practically, or through the garage, literally, to just look in his house. And like he said, and Aiden said this at the time, they wanted his laptop. Why did they want his laptop? They wanted all his devices. Why did they want that? Because they're trying to tie Aiden and Karen together for conspiracies or whatever went on there. And this is the fundamental reason why, to this day, you won't see me get involved in taking a side. between Karen and Aiden. This is why I sit here and will just support both of them in their endeavors in this fight, because at the end of the day, you have people out there that want to see both Karen and Aiden go down, and that's all they care about. That's all they care about. They want Karen Reed in jail, or at this point sued, or they wanted her in prison. That failed, but they want her to be civilly sued so much that she's going to have to pay a lot of money back. And they want Aiden in prison, right? They want him in jail. They want him to get locked up for 90 years. That's what they want. I personally just think all of Aiden's charges is a tie-up strategy. I'll tell you why. Well, if you look at it, look at Kelsey Fitzsimmons, for example. Kelsey Fitzsimmons' incident happened 11 months ago. She just had her trial 2 months ago. Kelsey Fitzsimmons' trial is already over. It's been done with. It's over. It came with Karen Reed, what was it, 2022? They went to trial by spring 2024. So about 2 years. Aiden got arrested in October and December 2023, and his case hasn't even gone to trial yet. It's always like kick the can down the road with Cosgrove and previously Mello. It's been kick the can down the road. I personally just think the whole thing's a stall tactic. That's been my theory for the longest time. I think they just want to tie up Aiden as much as possible, tie up his resources, tie up everything that he's doing for two reasons. Number one, to get a level of restriction on him. Number two is to financially affect him as well. And those are the two things I feel are their strategy. Because again, why hasn't this gone to trial yet? Those are the questions I ask. Why hasn't it gone to trial? Why hasn't Aiden and his attorneys already been on the trial, gone through this whole process, have all this here, and that's it? Mullen Law, an attorney who will be on our show tomorrow at 6:00 for Kelsey Fitzsimmons Fundraiser, says here, it's to keep him on bail to shut him up. And that's it. That's an attorney speaking on that. That's an attorney, giving their exact viewpoints on that matter. And to me, that validates what I'm saying. And I appreciate Lori for that. Thank you for coming in with that comment. That's exactly right. It's to keep him on bail. It's to shut him up. It's to place restrictions. It's a game. And I just feel like this thing, and I forget who said, I think somebody said this on the fundraiser. It might have been the Glare. It might have been somebody else. I anticipate this thing getting dragged out through the election. And this is why someone like Adam Deitch just needs to be elected, because I think they're just going to carry this thing on and on. What his trial is not even scheduled till what? Isn't it not scheduled till next spring or December? Something like that. So they got this thing deferred out for a long, long time. And then when you look at all of it, it's about Adam Deitch getting elected, because once Adam Deitch gets in there, he's gonna have to get in there and just say, okay, we're dropping the charges. That's it. DA's office is dropping the charges. Goodbye. This thing's over. Goodbye. Enough's enough. Enough's enough. The story's gone on way too long, and that's what it needs. And in terms of Greg Conner, who I think we'll get to next, his recent interview, there's a lot of talk out there right now. This guy is, well, he's not, people are trying to criticize Adam Deitch supporters, Karen Reed supporters, Turtleboy supporters for saying that Greg Conner is essentially Michael Morrissey 2.0. Adam Morrissey used to be a basketball player for Gonzaga. My apologies. Michael Morrissey, he's an extension of Michael Morrissey. I believe he is. And people are out there trying to say, oh, you guys are just trying to, he's a different person than Michael Morrissey. And let's be honest. If it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, talks like a duck, quacks like it's a duck, whatever that phrase is. That's your phrase. I don't even know how to say that phrase, but that's your phrase. If it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, talks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck. But yeah, he comes from that same network. And obviously he's going to have values and viewpoints that are favorable towards the Michael Morrissey ideology and how they're running their DA's office over there. So I don't see much change, if any, at all happening. And Adam Deitch is going to have to be the most realistic choice for DA because he's the only one. First of all, I think a Democrat, just because of Massachusetts voting tendencies, a Democrat would be the most likely candidate to get elected a DA. And then additionally, Adam Deitch of the Democrats is the only candidate that appears to be vocal about this whole matter in Norfolk County. The biggest concern I have, and many people have, and I know Caidyn said this as well, are the amount of opponents that could get potential shared votes from people with similar ideologies that may not want to vote for Adam Deitch. It's easier with a one candidate representing a particular ideology. It's why in a lot of presidential elections, the Republican Party and the Democratic Party vet out their single candidate to be their party nominee for a presidential election. It's like, is it going to be Trump? Is it going to be Biden? Is it going to be, whomever, Hillary Clinton, Mitt Romney, Obama, whomever, they vet out that candidate first, because you don't want to have two candidates from the same party, right? Or two people of similar ideologies, because they're going to split the votes. Like when Ross Perot ran for president in 92 and 96, people that were like, well, I don't like Clinton, or I don't know Clinton, or I'm tired of Bush. Well, I'm going to vote for Ross Perot. Or people like, well, I don't like how Clinton was president for 4 years in 96. I'm not a fan of Bob Dole. I'm going to vote for Ross Perot in 96. So you have that alternative candidates, and alternative candidates can be dangerous because, again, they can split votes for Adam. So Adam Deitch, for example, could lose, say, 1 to 2% of the vote that could go to another candidate. And that causes issues because, again, that 1 to 2% is highly critical in a race like this. That could be hundreds of thousands of votes. And if this ends up becoming because we'd have to imagine Greg Connor's the establishment candidate, you'd have to imagine this is going to be tough to you need every vote you can. And who knows, maybe Adam Deitch wins by a majority. But the problem is that if Greg Connor is the sole candidate running for DA of a particular ideology, he's going to get 100% of people that vote that have that ideology. Whereas if you have a bunch of people that are candidates that are against the Michael Morrissey grain, you're now splitting hairs among those candidates, which causes a problem for Adam Deitch. And this election's too critical for that. So that's how I look at all of that. So it will be interesting, but we'll get into Greg Connor in a little bit. But let's just wrap up this particular segment with some more video here.
They did.
Yeah.
They tried to do it for 90 days, and then they realized, oh, that's not, we can't get away with that. It's against the jurisdictional limits or whatever. Only 60. We got to let them out after 60.
Yeah. David, when I was first arrested or whatever in October, was there concerns? I mean, obviously about.
Now, what I love here is the things I've had to say, because I wanted to have this conversation. Caidyn himself here is also, branching off that, off my statements. He's branching off because he's also, he's intrigued as well about what Yannetti's reaction was. So for me, this is great because this is what I'm interested in hearing from David Yannetti, and also Caidyn at this point now also is curious as well. So this is fantastic. I'm happy to hear this, and Caidyn is also happy to hear from Yannetti on this as well.
Like them tying me to Karen and the effect that could have.
I would say it was clear, obviously, early on that they hated you and they hated my clients.
Yeah.
And they crossed the ethical line to get both of you.
Stand by. The ads are always popping up.
In certain ways, and they have a lot of power. So who knows what they were capable of? It just underscores how important it was to have public eyes on both of these cases. People who could evaluate the publicly available information.
I want to just jump in on that real quick. That just, to me, that just proves like how much financing matters, funding matters, fundraising matters, because they try to get these people isolated and financially over their heads. You look at the amount of money Aiden's raised. Aiden has been donated to, Karen, Kelsey Fitzsimmons. This has been invaluable to their efforts, because they try to, again, get these people in situations that are financially difficult, and it's up to people like ourselves to get out there and raise that money. Unbelievable job by everybody.
And and support both you and Karen based on that information. That acted as somewhat of a check and balance over some of their more wild accusations and actions, I think.
What were the court hearings like before I started getting involved?
All right, so I'm going to drop there. So yeah, I know that there was a lot quieter, beforehand, but then people started to show up and Karen Reed gear. All right, let's play some of the. Let's go to Fervent's video here of Greg Connor's interview. What's this lady's name again? One second, let me grab her name. I know Aiden was posting about her yesterday. I have it written down. Let's take a look. That is up. Wrong page. This is Catherine Loftus. Catherine Loftus did an interview with him. So here we go. All right, here we go.
An Accent podcast with our lovely host, Leopard Print Loftus. Today, she had on DA candidate Greg Connor, who is looking to continue Norfolk County's storied legacy of corruption and cover-ups. Loftus tries to fit as many words with R's in them in her first sentence. She comes up with this: you are here in large cat because you are running for Norfolk County District Attorney. She asks, where did this journey start? Connor says, well, nepotism. His father was a prosecutor in Norfolk County from 1968 to 1975. He says he loves all the people in the office, as well as the things they've done. Oof. He said he saw the candidates that were running for DA, and it was clear that they were going to change some things up. So he said, not on my watch. Things are going swimmingly here. And we have a new record, people. It took a whole 10 minutes before we got any harassment talk. Connor says the homeless shelter he was helping out with was getting harassed because they saw Connor volunteering there. Yeah, because I'm sure the homeless community, who are unsure where their next meal is going to come from, really give a damn about the Karen Reed case. He says Morrissey told him to watch the first trial. Wasn't this guy like the lead ADA at the office? He has nothing better to do than sit and take notes at a trial he's not working on. He says while watching the first Reed trial, he didn't see anything to justify a second-degree murder charge. Instead, it was like they were litigating whether John was hit by a car. Yeah, it's almost like they never had enough evidence to charge her in the first place. Connor says he was never asked to work on the case, and he never spoke to Julie Miller, the author of the Vanity Fair article that alleged that prosecutors in the DA's office turned down the case before Morrissey hired that mob lawyer for the retrial. He recites one of the anti's favorite mottos, which is, the feds didn't indict anyone, so obviously there was no corruption. In fact, he says he was told by the U.S. Attorney's Office that they were, quote, canceling the investigation into the Karen Reed case, end quote. He was like, the witnesses in the Karen Reed case were sitting at the federal grand jury like, why are we here? Yeah, Greg, why do you think they were there? He briefly talks about Sandra Birchmore and how once they got Linda Kenny Bottom's husband's report about Sandra's manner of death, that there should have been an inquest, which is a judicial fact-finding process where a judge...
what he's going to do too, with his campaign is he's going to be like the whole like, yeah, there were some things that we did wrong or Morrissey's office did wrong, but, those were mistakes that happen. Here's how I would have done it. So you guys can trust me. It's going to kind of be like that. Like, I kind of like the apologetic path where it's like, well, yeah, we'll do it. We'll do things differently. It's more political rhetoric.
Can make a decision about cause of death. So he doesn't really commit to any wrongdoing by Norfolk County law enforcement or prosecutors involved in that case. Red flag. He does admit that there was a conflict of interest by investigators in the Reed case, and many things went wrong in that investigation. Leopard Print Loftus references Nicole Albert's statement where she said something along the lines of, "Be very careful about being a witness because no one protects you." And then in an overly dramatic analogy, they compare it to the mob threatening to whack someone for
Oh, boy.
testifying. As a creator, I know that demographics, for the most part for this community, I don't think these witnesses have to worry about women between the ages of 40 and 70 dashing their knees in with a baseball bat. They bring up Canton's favorite racist ex-cop, Michael Proctor. Connor basically says he wishes he got these Proctor texts earlier so he could better strategize cases he was working on where Proctor was the case officer. In other words, he could figure out how to hide him from the jury just like Brennan did in the retrial and just like he did in the Brian Walsh case. He ends by saying his focus is on emerging adults who committed nonviolent crimes and helping them by offering mental health services, drug interventions, etc. Important stuff, but not the sexiest platform to run on at this time in Norfolk County. And that's the overall problem with his campaign. You listen to this interview, you listen to other interviews he's done, and you don't get a sense of what is actually going to change in Norfolk County if he is elected DA, and that county is in serious need of change. I get the sense that Adam Deitch is foaming at the mouth to get a chance to debate this guy, and I will be here for that. But comment.
All right. There we go. So, yeah, that was a good video by Furman summarizing what had gone down. Again, I think he's just going to try to be the, he's like, the candidate that's, well, I know there were some mistakes. I would have done this differently. And it's not going to be enough of a change that this county really needs, in my particular opinion, that they really need more of an overhaul. For some fresh blood in there, somebody that can change things up and shake things up in a positive way over in Norfolk County. So that's my thoughts on that. We're moving on to Karen Reed's Lexus here. Let's talk about that next. So Karen Reed's Lexus. So this is basically, as you guys know, it was sold. The auction was canceled a week ago. It was sold. Now it's being listed for sale at a Massachusetts dealership for nearly $100,000. So the gentleman that bought the Lexus is now turning around to sell that. Let's see if it's better in this format. I guess that's fine. Is now turning around to sell that, which is interesting. Let me zoom in a little bit more. There we go. All right. So the Lexus SUV, once owned by Karen Reed, is now back on the market, listed for nearly $100,000 at a dealership in Dedham. Can you believe that right now? $100,000. So basically, it's going to get a nostalgic. It's basically it's like selling a movie vehicle, basically, at this point, which is interesting. So that guy went out, bought it, turns around, is attempting to resell it. I don't know how much of a profit that's going to wage, but so that tells me right there that he bought that at that auction happened, and he must have bought it for less. So now he's raising the price up on that. So I don't know how much money he's going to be able to turn off that. Maybe if he bought it for 80, he'll turn about 20 grand. But not accounting all the factors that go into the vehicle's purchase or whatever. But yeah, we'll see. So again, it's listed for $100,000 at a dealership in Dedham. The vehicle is being sold at Autobahn USA at 909 Providence Highway, drawing attention because of its connection to the high-profile case involving the death of John O'Keefe, her Boston police officer boyfriend. According to the dealership's website, the black Lexus LX 570 has 12,832 miles and is listed for $99,400. The car comes equipped with many luxury features, including a heated steering wheel and seats, Apple CarPlay, a powered moonroof, a panoramic view monitor, and a 21 by 8.5 split 10-spoke J aluminum alloy wheels. See if there's anything more. Autobahn USA Dedham is proud to present this. The listing reads: Karen Reed's Lexus involved in court for in court case for sale. So yeah, they're turning around selling it. That's a summary here about what happened to Karen Reed. Last week, the SUV was sold to a private buyer after a low turnout prompted the cancellation of a scheduled auction. Details about the final sale price were not disclosed. Reed currently faces wrongful death civil lawsuit filed by John O'Keefe's family. Reed has also filed a sweeping civil lawsuit that accuses multiple state troopers and several Canton residents of conspiring to frame her. All right, so that's interesting. Let me take a look. I'm going to look at this Autobahn place on Google here. Let me take a look. Autobahn Dedham. 1 second here. The Wing King is here. Yes, I'm the Wing King. Yeah, so let's see where they're at. What are their hours today? They're closing at 6 p.m. today. I wonder if you have to call in advance to see the vehicle or if they have the vehicle in the showroom. I'm wondering here. This dealership, let's see. Okay, here it is. Oh, this is it right here in Dedham. Not a large dealership. Kind of a medium-sized dealership here that you'd see on a main road. I kind of had a bigger image in my head of this dealership, but this is it in Dedham. Interesting. Route 1A. Oh, it's maybe Route 1. Yeah, interesting. Not a big dealership. I thought this place would be bigger. But yeah, they took this and are reselling it. So yeah, usually sometimes you expect the big get these vehicles, but not this vehicle. That's interesting. Very interesting stuff right there. So Autobahn and Dedham is where it's at. Well, yeah, it's sold, but it's being resold. What does it say here? Oh, so it didn't actually sell. There were only 2 registered bidders at the auction, but around 10 onlookers. Someone mentioned the called off auction because of lack of interest. That's suspicious. I don't know. Yeah. So yeah, it looks like whoever bought this just wanted to turn it around for sale. Just wanted to get some kind of dollar off. And who knows how long that vehicle is going to sit in that deal. You know what I'm saying? Who knows what's going to end up coming of that? I don't know. But looks like they sell some pretty good vehicles here. Acuras, some pretty good vehicles. Yeah, luxury. Oh, I can't get the sign to come up. There we go. Maybe this luxury. They're a smaller size dealership, but they sell, like really good vehicles. You know what I mean? So they're small, but they sell a lot of top-notch vehicles here. Not bad at all. All right, what do we got next? We got Lucky Loughran coming up. Let's talk about Lucky Loughran next. Just get my I keep a list every week throughout the week. One second. Every week throughout the week, I write down ideas as the week goes by because I don't have the time to do shows regularly, like every night. So what I do is I tend to note down stuff throughout the week, like, what I want to talk about. So I make this whole list. And then sometimes what I do when I'm live is I actually note down what I've already talked about. So I have a whole bunch of stuff to discuss here today. So, all right, we got plenty of stuff to talk about. I mean, there's a lot of material here today. I had some ideas in mind for a show, basically explaining the life of an attorney, using some videos to talk about that. So I got some of those ideas. Maybe I'm going to put that as a future show down here. So I'll put this down here for next week. And I'm working on t-shirts. I was working on a t-shirt last night. The problem I had with the t-shirt was the red color and the Mazza logo. I can't get the the red to match the Maza Media logo. So I'm trying to work on that to try to get that to work. So this is the store where you got to make it, and then you take it from here. So that's an example of one of the shirts right now, and then we'll see how that comes out. So I got a couple of ideas in mind as well, written down. So that's one of the shirts. I might just end up throwing this in the shop because I already have the shop created. So Danny from Rat House Media, because I've been looking to get a shirt store because people last week were talking about it. And Danny Rathouse from Rat House Media ends up creating his own shop that he was talking about last night. I happened to tune in just as he's talking about it. And I'm like, oh, great. So I found the store he's using. I'm just going to use the same store. I'm like, there we go. So that's one of the concepts. And then I had an idea where maybe the sleeve right here has the Maza Media logo on it. So I'm kind of going with that kind of look because I like the idea of the logo on the sleeve. The biggest issue I'm having with this shirt is that the Maza Media logo black background is darker than the black color on the shirt. And I don't want it to look like it's just stamped on there. So I spent a lot of time just kind of working on that last night. And I'm trying to just kind of fine tune it a little bit more to make it work. So we'll see how that, but here's a look at how it would look right there with the logo on the right sleeve specifically. And then it would kind of look like that. And then it would, let me zoom in if possible. If possible. Not possible. All right. But yeah, it would look something like that. And then when you fold the sleeve over, it would basically look like that. So what I'm thinking is creating a bunch of shirts with like phrases on them and then just stamping the Maza Media logo right on the right sleeve, almost like a patch. So that's kind of the idea I got right now. So that, but what I don't like is see the red color in the logo is different than the red color on the shirt. I don't like that. And I don't know what level red color I have in my own logo because I created this logo 10 years ago and never made note of the font style and never made note of the color style. But I'm working on, trying to fine tune this some more, and then we'll roll out some shirts. So we got a couple different, I got about 3 ideas for shirts that I'm working on, and we'll try to get that rolling out soon. So that's an early look at that. So yes. All right. So now let's go back to sharing. Yeah, the red color is off. I don't like that. That's what bothers me the most about that shirt. I just don't like it. I want the red coloring to be exactly or as close to that red coloring as possible. The problem I'm fearing is because I don't know it. I have to change my logo, which is insane. And I don't want to change my logo because this logo is kind of like, I kind of like to have like something that's very generic and standard and never changes, right? So it's like it's a uniform logo throughout history. The logo always looks that particular way. But the problem is when I created that logo, it was done on another computer, and I don't know the font, and I don't know the website I created it on. And actually, believe it or not, that logo is actually 2 different images I made and combined them because I did 2 different color coding them. Then I edited them and cropped them over each other. So I did Mazza in red, then did Media in white, and I wanted that to look just like that. So I don't want to change my logo, but I'm going to have to try to figure out what the hell color that red is at all costs. So we'll get it figured out. I'm going to figure it out somehow. Last night I was actually able to change the color scheme of the black background to look less visible on the shirt. So I had it all perfect. Then I went to the production screen, and then all of a sudden it looked like it was a giant patch on a shirt. I'm like, the logo has to blend in to the shirt. The logo has to be transparent, but I can't get that to work. So I think I'm going to throw the Maza Media logo on the right sleeve like a patch. And it will have the background there, but it'll look more like a patch. So that won't look as horrible as having a giant logo on your shirt where the background of the logo is darker than the black shirt itself. So that's what I'm going to end up doing. So we'll get that figured out. And then we'll have some shirts. The Griff store. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I could figure out something like that. They actually have some people do logo generation. I actually know a girl that's a Karen Reed supporter that reached out to me. It does logo creation. So I have a couple ideas. We'll see. I might just do one shirt to start and then move it on. We'll see what we end up doing. But I don't want these shirts to look horrible. I want these shirts to look good. So that's the direction we're going to go in, by golly. All right. So we got Lucky Lochran here. This audio recently came about from August 10th, 2023. This is Yuri and Proctor interviewing him. Yeah, I think it does as well. I'm going to figure that out too. We'll get it figured out. All right, here we go.
It is August 10th, 11:45 a.m. Location is the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office, 45 Sharman Road in Canton. This is Trooper Michael Proctor, along with
Sergeant Yuri Buchanan, spelled Y-U-R-I-B-U-K-H-E-N-I-K, with the Norfolk District Attorney's Office.
and this is the interview with
Brian Lochran, L-O-U-G-H-R-A-N.
Okay. Why don't we start with the night of the 29th, and whatever you can recall to the best of your recollection. We were going to kind of just walk us through what time you were called out and just everything you can recall at this point.
We were called out at 2:30 in the morning. I believe it was roughly 2:30 in the morning. I arrived at the barn at 2:15. I was in my truck. I went down, proceeded to do Cedar Crest to the very end, all the way back out to Devon Street, back down Cedar Crest, left onto Fairview, up to Fairview, back onto Chapman, down to Spring Lane, and then back up Fairview. Repeat it again.
In the barn, what is that and where's it located?
It's 160 Bolivar Street, Canton, Mass.
It's kind of like a shop?
Yes.
Okay. So you got there around 2:15. Did you immediately go out, or did you kind of get the trucks ready? How did that kind of process particularly work?
Most of the trucks had been done before. So once we get there, we know our routes was to get in and go, basically.
Thank you, Will. So what I'm thinking though too is that when the red coloring needs to be so when I'm on the selection screen for the color of the logo when on the shirt, it gives me like specific codes. So maybe I can let me note this down. Mazza is impact is Oswald bold. Oh, that's the font style. Media is future or bold, or of course autocorrect keeps messing up my typing here. Or Avenir bold. Autocorrect, you're killing me. Autocorrect is destroying me right now. Just let me type in this word, Avenir bold. There we go. Okay. Thank you so much. I've noted that down. I'll research that later. Appreciate that. Thank you for doing that work for me, Wills. I appreciate it. Thought that was about the color at first till I read your whole old message. Thank you. Thank you for doing that for me.
And to the best of your recollection, if you could describe the weather conditions at like 2:30 a.m. and beyond that time while you're up plowing and sanding.
2:30 in the morning, it was snowing, not heavy, probably about 2 inches on the ground. It progressively got worse during the night, probably being the worst around 4:30ish. I'm not 100% time-wise, but it was really snowing at that point. And
And that route you just described to us, was that your assigned route for that evening?
Yes, that's pretty much every snowstorm. That's my route.
And it's just a constant kind of loop of that?
They call it Lower Cedar Crest, so it's everything from Kings Road to Chapman Street.
And are you driving a town truck, or is this a subcontractor's vehicle that you are operating?
I'm operating a town vehicle.
So town of Canton DPW vehicle.
Correct.
What kind of vehicle is it?
It is an international. It is a 6-wheel dump.
6-wheel meaning 4 in the back, single axle, and 2 in the front.
Correct.
Were you sanding and salting as well, or just plowing?
Just plowing at the time.
Was there anybody else with you? Are you partnered up with another truck? Are there two of you plowing the same roadway in each direction, or how does that work? Or were you by yourself in an entire vicinity?
The subcontractors were called in at 3:30 in the morning.
And the subcontractors, do they have the same routes?
It depends. Bill usually makes, he'll give me a minimum of one subcontractor. I can have as much as two, depending if another subcontractor isn't there for a bigger route, more important route. He'll take one of mine and just leave me with just one subcontractor.
So in addition to you, a subcontractor will be assigned to essentially help you out in your assigned area?
Correct.
Do you recall the subcontractor that night?
The belief I had, it was by the yard landscape, and I can't.
No, but my belief is that this is the Massachusetts State Police interview. So this is Yuri and Proctor.
I honestly remember if I had a second.
Good lucky.
That's fine. And what time roughly did they arrive?
Wills, thank you. I've noted that hex code down as well. Thank you.
I'll take that. Okay.
With that area, it being January, is there like a parking ban effect with the snowstorm coming in for the town of Canton? Do you know?
Yes, there's always a parking ban from November 1 to April.
And what does the parking ban mean in your understanding?
My understanding is, as long as if it doesn't interfere with the removal of snow, that's fine. If it is, hindering the removal of snow, then we call and they either police will go down, knock on the door, tell them to move it, or
behind it, like, what's the reason behind this? You remember in this day in this snowstorm?
I believe it or not, I know. I remember a lot of my stuff when it comes to the work.
Was this a significant snow amount fall that was forecasted at that?
I believe it was 18 inches.
18 inches of snow that was coming? Yeah. Do you remember any obstructions that you had to call in the police for that was obstructing the removal of snow for you that day?
There was a vehicle there around 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning in front of 34 Fairview.
Oh, there was a vehicle?
Correct.
Okay. Do you recall what kind of vehicle it was?
Ford Edge.
Ford Edge?
Yes.
And where along the property do you remember it to be parked?
It was parked looking at the front door. It was to the left of the front door.
So it was on the street?
Correct.
It was on the street. Which way was it facing? Towards Cedar Crest or Chapman?
Chapman.
So it's parked towards Chapman on on Fairview, and it's to the left of the front door?
Correct.
Or to the left of the driveway?
It was to the left of the driveway. The door's to the left of the driveway too.
Okay, how many spots up from the mailbox / driveway would you remember it being parked that day or that night?
It would say it was probably 4 or 5 spots up from the driveway.
Okay. Was there anybody in the vehicle?
Not that I recognize.
Was the vehicle running?
No.
Did you notice footprints in the snow around the vehicle before you plowed?
No.
Did you notice any snow footprints leading away from the vehicle, towards the property, towards the driveway, towards the back of the house, towards the front of the house, any of those?
No.
Would you remember if you saw that, something like that?
Yes.
So they ask him about footprints here. You know what they're getting at. Let's play it back.
Is there anybody in the vehicle?
Not that I recognize.
Was the vehicle running?
No.
Did you notice footprints in the snow around the vehicle before you plowed?
Footprints in the snow.
No.
Did you notice any snow footprints leading away from the vehicle?
Any footprints not leading away from the vehicle?
Towards the,
to try to prove that John never went in the house, obviously. Hey, don't worry about it. Daryl, ask questions as much as you want. No problem at all. That's all right. Hey, do what you got to do. If you have a question, ask. That's no problem at all. I'm always willing to answer questions. You're good. Thank you for asking.
property, towards the driveway, towards the back of the house, towards the front of the house, any of those?
No.
Would you remember if you saw that, something like that?
Yes.
Did you have to call Canton PD to have that vehicle removed, or have them knock on the door to get the vehicle removed, or did you kind of on your second swipe, did you have to notify Canton PD to get the vehicle removed?
No.
Was the vehicle removed for any reason while you were plowing that day?
Not that I'm aware of by any other sources other than them driving it away.
Okay.
And the thing is about the footprints is they can ask Lucky, like, hey, did you see footprints? No. Did you see any footprints walking away from the vehicle towards the house? No. Well, the thing is the snow would have snowed over that. So whatever.
Was that the only time you saw that, the Ford Edge? So on your second pass?
But it was there for a significant period of time. It was there for at least an hour into the storm. It wasn't enough that it required me to have it removed. There wasn't a lot of snow on the ground at that time, and I could just go around it.
And as you plow, which direction is your blade facing and you're removing the snow as you come down the street? Like you described the routes for us, you're going on Fairview. Can you tell us how you operate, maneuver, and position the plow?
Plows always ring road to the right.
Ring road to the right. So,
Always right.
and do you go with the traffic that you normally naturally would as you plow the roadway, or do you go the opposite way and then clean it up out of the middle?
Normally, I will follow the traffic rules, and if we need to push back, I will go against the traffic.
That day, that night, did you have to push back and go against the traffic at any point, or was it a typical pattern?
Typical pattern.
Okay. Did you see anything out of the ordinary that day outside of the vehicle being parked there and obstructing your initial passes?
No.
No. Obviously, you've been asked about this before, so it's not a secret why I'm asking you these questions. If you did see a body in a roadway or on the side of the road, would you call it in?
Absolutely.
But that day you didn't see anything suspicious?
No.
Does that mean that there was definitely no body there, or do you think it might have been obstructed by something if you were driving by, or what's your understanding of it?
I saw no body. My truck is high enough with the lights that I would have seen a body. I can't answer to say if there was something obstructing me. I didn't see anything obstructing me.
That's good. Good. Sorry. So you obviously are aware that there's a publication about an interview, right?
Yes.
Okay. Who published that interview? Do you know?
I believe it's Caidyn or Turtleboy.
Are you familiar with his platform and the blogging that he does and video YouTubing that he conducts?
Yes.
Okay. When was the last time you spoke to Caidyn?
Monday or Tuesday. I want to say it was Monday.
Monday or Tuesday?
It was Monday.
It was Monday. And how did you guys communicate?
He called me.
He called you on your phone?
On my cell phone.
Do you have your cell phone with you?
Yes, I do.
Can you open it up and show us the time that he called and the date?
I don't have him on my phone.
You don't have him on your phone?
No, I do not.
In your call logs, you don't have him calling you on Monday?
I do not have his number on here.
How come?
I cycle my phone all the time.
You delete your phone numbers?
I delete any calls that come in. I keep it for a month and then I delete.
But Monday was not a month ago.
Correct.
So why do you think that phone number is not on your phone?
I'm sure it's because I deleted it, and I've got 3 days worth of phone calls on my phone right now.
But you said every month you delete it.
It was
What's the cycle that you delete them at?
so I try to keep my memory not as blocked up. I do go through my texts. I delete my texts. I go through my phones. I delete my phone numbers just to keep my memory so it doesn't get blocked up.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Do you remember the phone number that he called you from?
It was a 401 number.
401?
Yes.
401. Okay. And did it come up with his name or where he's like the town that the number originates from?
No, it did not.
Did you know that his phone call was coming?
I did not.
No, he surprised you?
Correct.
What were you doing when he called?
I had just been released from work, and I had worked the night overnight. So I was
like first thing in the morning?
Yeah, probably around 7:30ish.
Okay. And did he introduce himself? Did he say anything? Did he identify himself?
He said he was Caidyn. He didn't, say that I'm Caidyn. And then he proceeded with the interview.
And what kind of questions was he asking you?
He had asked if I have been cooperating, and I said yes, I have. He goes, "Who you been interviewed by?" I've been interviewed by the FBI. I've been interviewed by Karen Reed's special investigative reporters or private detectives, and those two are the ones that wanted to see the route. It was the private investigators.
So the private investigators wanted to see the route and drove you around.
Correct.
The FBI didn't drive you around, like he said.
Right.
So how is that possible that he has a transcript of your interview and he's actually misrepresenting who drove you around and who did what?
I can't answer that because.
Did he tell you that the interview was recorded?
No, he did not.
He did not tell you it was recorded?
He did not.
Oh, so okay. Was there anybody else on the line with him? Did he three-way call you?
Not that I'm aware of.
He didn't make you aware of that?
No.
Okay.
How do you think he got your phone number? Did he say how he got your phone number, or?
He did not.
Did you ever talk to him, communicate with him, visit his platforms in any way, follow him before that you might have inadvertently shared your contact information with him that way in the past?
No, but I do follow him.
You do follow him?
But no, I did not.
Okay.
There was an incident where I was in Wisconsin, and he commented on a post that I did, which was a simple picture of a pancake, and I said, "Holy pancakes!" And at that point, he had he contacted me through Facebook Messenger looking to answer questions. And I said at that point, I am not answering any questions regarding this matter anymore, unless it's attached to a subpoena or a badge.
When did that Facebook message happen?
March.
Of this year?
Yes.
Now, so he shared, I have the printouts of his blogs here. He shared those screenshots on his publication of your conversation. Are those accurate based on, you know, of your knowledge? Are these accurate? I'm showing you the screenshot. It's your name from a Facebook Messenger here. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. So it's a screen grab with Brian Laughlin's name at the top, 13 to the left of his emoji icon profile picture with Sunday 2:22 p.m. at the top.
So we contact Caidyn, aka Turtleboy, contacts you in March via Facebook Messenger.
Correct.
Did you hear from him again until Monday?
No.
What changed your mind about talking to him and answering questions
Facebook Messenger.
in the meantime?
Yeah, so you listen to this, and it's like they're asking him questions about. It's like is this an event? Like Jody said, is this an investigation? Hi, Lisa. Is this an investigation into what happened at 34 Fairview? Is this an investigation into what Lucky saw, or is this an interview into what he knows about Aiden Carney and what communications he had? You know, have you been following his blog? Have you been in contact with him, so forth and so on? It's just you know, it shows you what's going on here, the ulterior motives of this interview, almost presenting it like it's supposed to be an investigation of what happened that night, when it's exactly like Chloe says, it's an interview to get to Turtleboy. And then Lisa says, I saw Lucky right after he testified at the Hootie and the Blowfish concert at Fenway Park. That's cool. Hootie and the Blowfish, that's a band that goes back.
I don't have an
I only want to be with you.
answer to that.
Okay.
Don't call me a fool. Dun, dun. I only want to be with you. Classic song.
Um,
Now. I got that song ingrained in my head. I used to listen to that song all the time in the 90s.
have you had a chance to review the transcript that he published about your conversation before?
My supervisor sent me a screenshot of that. And right off the bat, I noticed that he states that I was in with the FBI driving the route, and that's not correct. Nor did I ever say that I was with the FBI in their car going down Fairview to show them the route I do.
Okay.
I said that was the private detectives that I was with.
So that transcript's not accurate?
Correct.
In that respect. Where did you meet with the FBI?
The first time I met with them, it was at my residence.
Now, I don't know how this all works, but I wonder, I don't know if he's accompanied by an attorney here. I don't know. I assume he is. But is he really permitted to inform the state police of his communication with the FBI? I don't know. We can debate that in the comments or whatnot, but I don't imagine you have to answer to that.
The second time I met with them was to actually go through the route, and we met at 100 Dedham Street, the John F.
I don't understand why the Massachusetts State Police is asking about his interviews and questions with the FBI. I don't know why they would do that. Suspicious. I just find that suspicious.
Yannetti parking lot.
Okay. Do you remember what dates these were?
I don't, honestly. I know one was on a Sunday.
Did they identify themselves with credentials to you?
They introduced themselves as private investigators working on behalf of the defense team for Karen Reed.
What about the FBI agents?
The FBI agents did leave me their cards.
Perfect. Okay. But the private investigators met with you 2 times to take you through the route?
Correct.
Okay.
One time. They met me twice. Second time to do the route.
Where was the first meeting? I'm sorry.
At my house.
At your house. And the FBI also went to your house?
Correct.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm sorry. I might have missed it and misunderstood.
So the only time you traveled the route was with the defense team's private investigators?
Correct.
Mr. Monk's understudy, I just moved my location of this on the screen. So it says right there, August 10th. My face was blocking the, in this format, it blocks the August date. And then there you are right there. I'll just leave it in this format for everybody. Sarah B. Creative says they wanted to get to the bottom of who found him. I do believe that they used him as a fishing expedition. Yeah. They also want to know what the FBI were asking. I mean, that's incredible to me as well. That I can't get over the fact they were just asking about what his dealings were with the FBI and questions were with the FBI. That's unbelievable. McCossie says they were trying to find out who the target of the investigation was and then charged Turtleboy with wiretapping. They cared nothing about Karen Reed and John O'Keefe. I agree wholeheartedly. This is basically like Sarah said, a fishing expedition to try to get to the bottom of everything and just find. They're trying to cover their own ass, and they're trying to just find out what's going on out there. Who'd you talk to in the feds? Did you talk to Caidyn Carney? This is crazy. I know that says it right there. I got to reread. McCossie says they were trying to find out who the target of the FBI investigation was. Exactly. That's 100% accurate. That's exactly. And not only that, they're wondering about their own selves. Hey, it's Mo Esk in the house. You were great on the fundraiser. Love seeing you up there with Melanie and Yannetti. Thanks, Mo Esk. Great seeing you as well. I think you were the only person that I hadn't seen on camera before. So it was great to see you on camera. Probably going to reach out to you soon too, by the way, about coming on this show. I'll be in touch with you. I think I'm going to do something here, Turtleboy Karen related soon. So definitely, I'll be in touch with you. Let me know if you're interested. That'd be great. You did a great job on the fundraiser, Mo Esk. You're doing a great job covering this case and talking about this case. Fantastic.
After Caidyn called you, did you call, tell, text, communicate with anyone about the conversation?
No.
Have you heard from Turtleboy since, either Facebook Messenger or text or phone calls?
Look at that. Right in on it again. Have you talked to Turtleboy again since? Has he reached out to you? Has he texted you? What did you tell him? What did you say? What kind of information did you share with him? Did he try to influence you in any way? Did he try to, it's like, this is all just, this is what you call in Massachusetts, as a witch hunt. This is trying, they're exploiting Lucky to probe him for information to get anything they can to use outside there. It's like, geez, it's like the Gestapo. Oh my God.
No.
And just to confirm, when he called you, he didn't advise you that you could potentially he's recording that conversation? Did he tell you, hey, this is being recorded?
He did not tell me it was being recorded.
When did you stop plowing that area?
I stopped plowing the area after all the snow had been plowed, sir. I'm sure he's looking for a time. I know, yeah, exactly. They ask about wire, recording and all that stuff as well.
That day, it could have been anywhere between mid-afternoon.
Greatest Lucky line of all time, and God forbid animals. Love it.
Mid-afternoon. So you were plowing when the police and the paramedics responded?
Yeah, the road was officially blocked at that point. I notified my supervisor that I could not go down any further than carriage lane. He said just to keep it open until they're done.
Okay. How long does the route take you to do that whole loop, approximately, that night? What was the average time that you would cycle from being on Fairview, do the rest of the complex, and come back to Fairview?
It depends. It depends on.
It shows you how threatened Norfolk County is when they're still threatened by Karen and Aiden to this day, and the trial is over, because these people are hiding from the depths of their own souls, the dark corners of their own souls, which is actually probably every corner. But yeah, this is unreal. And again, this is like I always say, it's all as real as it seems. It is what you think it is. They are who you thought they are. This is what I'm talking about. It's just, it's how anybody can believe that this wasn't what it was is beyond me. I still can't believe the world of anti-Karen Reed exists. That these people cannot possibly see or discern what's truly going on here. This is what's gone down here from Karen to Aiden is unbelievable. And again, this is why I stand wholeheartedly in support of Aiden and Karen in their battles, because again, they're both up against the same people, and the same people are up against them or after them. So
how much the subcontractor has done on the other part of the route, which are my side streets, cul-de-sacs and stuff like that. It depends. I mean, normally it can be 20 minutes. If I do Dedham Street, Cedar Crest to the end, go back to Dedham Street, come back down Cedar Crest, and up Fairview, it could be 20 minutes.
Okay. So the way I'm understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, you with the big truck do the main thoroughway, Cedar Crest, Fairview, and
Spring Lane.
Spring Lane, and then the subcontractors do the little small side streets and the cul-de-sacs. Is that accurate, or am I wrong?
It's somewhat accurate. I'm responsible for 8 or 9, 10 streets. So if I get done with those 2 main roads, Cedar Crest, Spring Lane, Fairview, I'll bounce up and I'll take care of Kings Road, which is a big street. I'll take care of Hunter Lane, which is off of Kings Road. As I'm doing Spring Lane, I'll go all the way down to the very end of Spring Lane, depending on when the last time the subcontractor has hit Fall Lane, Snowflake, I will hit those again.
During this specific night, when the snow is coming down so hard and so heavy at such a rapid pace, what would be in you've been doing this for many years. How many years have you been doing this?
18.
18 years, the same route?
Not the same route.
But plowing for 18 years. How many years on this route?
Well, this year would have not been a year I did it. We didn't do any plowing, but this year I was given a new route. Up until that, it was probably 3 or 4 years.
So in the 4 years that you did the section in question, including Fairview and Cedar Crest,
right,
what would be the longest turnaround time for you to come back to Fairview?
It could be an hour.
Could be an hour.
Could be an hour.
So at any point during the night, did you see a body on the side of the road?
No.
At any point of the night, with your lights illuminated, you were saying up above, did you see a body appear on the side of the road?
No.
Did you see footprints at any point during the night coming to and from the house, the driveway, other parts of the street, any property, any tire tracks that would have been pulled up alongside where the body was found?
No.
At any point of the night, I know I'm repeating myself, but it's important, okay, because you have a great memory, and you're telling us in specific detail what you've remembered. Any part of the night, did you see anybody bringing a body out there, placing it on top of the snow, or digging up the snow and covering the body in the snow and disturbing the snow around the body?
No.
Did not observe or remember seeing any of that?
No.
Any blood trails of a body being dragged? I know you mentioned there was no car tracks pulling up to where you were plowing after the edge had left, right?
Correct.
So you didn't see any tire tracks. You didn't see any blood trails being dragged, a body being dragged there.
Correct.
And you didn't hit the body, right? If you hit the body,
Correct.
you would have notified.
I would have no.
And to that point, people, as we've seen on Twitter, YouTube, have driven by that house, even in the snow, and even with their own vehicles. Their headlights light up the street, and you can clearly see, if a body would be there or not. It's not. I mean, I drove down the street once, and of course I did a U-turn at the end of the street. And sure enough, as soon as I did that U-turn, and I was about to take a right to go back, so there's a street. So if you pass the house with 34th Fairview on your right, there's a little street to the left just ahead of it that I loop around in. As soon as I loop around that house, suddenly there's a guy driving by giving me the fiercest look. I'm like, yep, they're on me. They're guarding this street, because I know people are visiting this street all the time. So I loop around, drive back. I mean, that street is, and I know people have been there. I think when Bettero went there, he said this. When you're driving down that street, I mean, you can see everything. I mean, there's nothing about, if there's a hair out of, even if you've never driven down that street before, it's that kind of street that it's just so right in front of you. If there's a body on the lawn or there's not, you'll know. There's no way you're going to drive down the street and not notice something. And even in those videos that people did recreating the drive, when they drive right by it, that the headlight lights up half that yard, and you can see everything, to the point where it looks more like a black blob. Okay? It's very obvious that there would be a body there. There's no question about it. And then this is an extra point here that's great to add. Because of his vehicle being a larger vehicle, his headlights are presumably, other than a big rig, probably about the largest taillights you could possibly have on a truck. Possibly additional lighting on the head. I don't know what the vehicle looked like. Could have had additional lighting as well, for all we know. You're gonna see quite a bit.
And B, I would have known.
And again, if he's driving by at a certain time and there's no body there, where's the body?
It's been required to stop and make a phone call to the supervisor, and then the necessary phone calls to police and fire. That's protocol for the town.
And at any point during the night, did you hit anything at all? Mailbox, car, anything at all?
I hit a basketball net that was portable on the side of the road. It actually hit my the arm to my tarp that is on top of my truck.
So not the plow.
Not the plow.
So you clipped something up above.
Correct.
The net actually clipped above your truck.
Correct.
And it was protruding onto the roadway as you were
Correct.
Your plow didn't hit it.
No.
It's just, it made contact with your vehicle.
Correct.
And did you notice anybody injured up there that night due to that clipping?
No.
Did you notify anybody?
Yes.
But you did.
Notified my supervisor.
And what was the result of that incident?
The net was turned from facing the street to facing road. So I turned it 90 degrees.
Do you recall the street that was on?
It was on Tippy Cot Road.
And off of what street is that?
That is off of Cedar Crest and off of Kings Road.
Okay.
Tippy Cot is a half moon. It goes to Cedar Crest and comes off of Kings Road.
Did you notice any other vehicles on Fairview Road parked on the side of the road other than the Ford Edge?
No.
What color was this Ford Edge?
I can't.
You know where that, does anybody know where that Ford, whatever happened to that Ford Edge anyways, that mysterious Ford Edge that has disappeared off the face of the earth?
Tell you, I am colorblind.
Okay. What, was it a light color or a dark color? You just
If I were to say it was a tan colored.
a tan color? Okay. But you are colorblind, so
I am.
I appreciate you revealing that information with us. It's very forthcoming and shows how honest you're being with us.
That's such a I forget what movie it was where there was dirty officers doing. That was good of you to bring that information to our attention. We thank you so much for doing that. Thank you for volunteering. It's just that's just, I don't know. It just kind of makes me cringe a little bit. Not in a way. I'm not saying what they said was awkward. It just kind of, to me, tips me off that that's just shady behavior. Like, oh, it's nice of you to bring that. You've been very forthcoming with us today, sir. You're being very, you're being very informative and you're being very transparent. We appreciate that because we're good officers that are conducting a legitimate investigation here. And you're really helping us out because we really need to make sure that this case gets solved because this is a wild case. As you know, a man was killed and Karen Reed did it. So we're just trying to get this woman thrown behind bars because this woman's horrible. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. Okay. And that makes me, I love the comments here. Phony bullshit, copland, patronizing, condescending. Exactly. It's just, oh my God. Oh my God.
I also shared that information with the FBI. I shared the same information with the private.
I don't want to critique Lucky, but I wouldn't tell him shit about what I talked to the FBI about. None of their business.
That you think we're missing about the night in question? How well illuminated it was, how heavy in your experience the snow was coming down, how obstructed your view was as a result of the snow? If you can maybe share your recollection of that.
Yeah,
the
really.
snow was heavy. It was not blinding. It was not a whiteout conditions, but it was coming down very heavy, very fast.
Okay. What about the streetlight illumination? Did the neighborhood lose power anytime? So there was no streetlights? Are there streetlights, if you recall, on that street?
I want to say there is one that I know of, and that's at the end of the property of 34, and there's just seems to be like a it's hard to describe it. To me, it looks like a little wooded area that has a concrete pole with a light on it.
Okay. All right. Trooper Crocker.
I don't have any further questions unless the sergeant does.
There's unsubstantiated rumors, but we want to get to the bottom of everything. There's unsubstantiated rumors right now that we have learned that somebody recorded you having this conversation, or somebody prior to having Aiden call you recorded a conversation with you, asking you the same questions that Aiden asked.
Is anybody at all who what they're really saying there is, who else did you talk to? I know you talked to Aiden and Aiden's asked you questions, but if you talked to anybody else, who else did you tell? Who else have you shared this with, Lucky? Let us know. We want to talk to them next and ask them a few questions. Maybe pay them a visit. Ask them a few questions. That is the aura. That is the aura that is emitting from those comments there. Did you tell anybody else? Did you if you shared that with anybody at all? Did you tell anybody? Is there anybody else you can think of? Do you think that Aiden might have talked to anybody that you talked to about it? Did Aiden at any point tell you, hey, I'm going to talk to so-and-so about this? Did you hear anything at all? Anything you can do to just make sure we have as much information as possible, because we want to, we want to investigate this as thoroughly as we can. Because again, an officer's been killed here and a woman did it. Karen Reed did this. And we got to save the day because we're heroes. You can be the hero, Lucky. You can help us out. You can help us get to the bottom of this and solve this puzzle. And again, if you know anybody else that you talk to about this, let us know, because they could have some information that can help us solve this case. That's the kind of that is the kind of aura that's emitting from these people, as far as I'm saying here. That kind of really creeps me out. Unbelievable. Yeah. Lucky never wanted this, and now they just want to drag him around the internet, but the turtle mob is vile. Yeah, exactly. Unreal. Yeah. Oh, it's crazy. I didn't think I could like Lucky more, but then he said the animal line. The animal line was all time. That was an all-time line. I quoted it last night on X because I just love that line so much, because when I look at Lucky, I don't see him as Lucky the plow driver. I see him as Lucky the plow driver that was looking out for animals that night. I'm as an animal lover, as someone that goes above and beyond to save animals I've had in my life that have been sick or whatever. I'm all about the animals, and I just thought that was the greatest line of all time. And God forbid animals. Loved it. Oh boy, this is nuts. This story is nuts.
This conversation where somebody, prior to having Aiden call you, recorded a conversation with you, asking you the same questions that Aiden asked. Do you know anything about that?
I have no idea.
No idea. Okay. Had anybody else, other than the FBI, the private investigators, ask you the same question, very similar questions that Aiden was asking you?
Because they're threatened by Aiden Carney, and they're threatened by Aiden Carney because Aiden Carney had the leads. Aiden Carney was getting to the bottom of it. And like it was said, I think McCossie said it in his chat earlier, they had no interest in interviewing this guy. Look at the date, for goodness sakes. It's August 2023. It's August 2023. And McCossie makes another point. It's all about Turtleboy. Who did they arrest 2 months later? Turtleboy. Who did they arrest again 5 months later? Turtleboy. And this is all a witch hunt. This is all about cornering Lucky to give them intel on Aiden in any way, shape, or form possible, or obtain any other intel about who Lucky might have talked to that could also be a potential threat. So they're vetting Aiden as a threat to themselves while also attempting to determine who else may be a threat. Because if anybody else is a threat to them, who knows what's about to come down on their ass, right? Because we all saw what happened in October and December of 2023. And they're interviewing this plow driver. They're interviewing him. What is this? It was basically February. It was January 29th. So basically almost February 2022. So you're thinking about maybe 18 months, practically just a little bit more than 18 months later. They're finally interviewing this guy, but they're not interviewing this guy until he was unearthed as a lead that Aiden had presented on his show, to the best. I believe that's how it was. Aiden had blogged about it. I think Aiden had blogged about him or talked about him on the show, to the best of my knowledge. I do remember Aiden talking about this that summer. But that's exactly right. They're building a case here. They were building that case against Aiden for weeks before they eventually arrested him. They were lining this up. They were dotting their I's, crossing their T's. They were layering this whole thing to a T before they did that. They were trying to get all the information that they could possibly get. And Lucky, to his credit, thinks he's here to try to give good, honest answers about, what happened to John O'Keefe. But they're not really here. And I think someone else said that in the comments. They're not really here for John O'Keefe. They're not really here for Karen Reed. They're here to cover their own asses. They're here in their own best interest. They're here to figure out what information is circulating, because all of a sudden, this story is out of containment now. They had this story contained for a while, but when Karen Reed got wiser and David Yannetti got wiser as to what was going on, and then eventually Turtleboy started the blog, and this thing was starting to pick up steam on the internet. I had just started tweeting about it, June? May. I remember the summer I started to really tweet about this in 2023. All of a sudden, this is becoming public interest now because again, if they covered up a murder and they frame Karen Reed, nobody can ever find out. It's just like Donald Sutherland said in the movie JFK. No matter what happens, the conspirators must get away. The conspirators must not be held accountable. I would play that scene, but it would be hit with a copyright. But Donald Sutherland says that in the movie. No matter what happens when they assassinate JFK, the conspirators and the perpetrators must not be held accountable. And that's what happened in the movie John F. JFK with Kevin Costner. Donald Sutherland says that. And that's exactly what's happening here. The conspirators, the perpetrators, or whatever, are attempting to ensure that they, in any way, shape, or form, will not be held accountable. That's what they're interested in here. They're trying to save their own asses because the story is no longer contained. And because it's no longer contained, they're having to go out and interview Lucky and sit down with Lucky and figure out what he knows, what he's talking about with Aiden Carney, who else he's talked to, who else is asking questions, because God forbid anybody besides the Massachusetts State Police and the FBI are talking about this. And this goes to show you that the information that Aiden Carney had was accurate. Because if it was not accurate, they would not be bothered by it. If it was not accurate, they would not show up at his house to arrest him in the morning in 2023 in October. They would not have any interest. This is what we talked about on that fundraiser. I played the clip earlier. I brought this up. What you saw happen to Aiden Carney validated everything that was being said about the John O'Keefe cover-up and the Karen Reed frame job. This was all lining up. And that's why someone like myself, who had already believed in Aiden's blogs, who had already believed in Karen Reed's innocence, well throughout the summer of 2023, only grew more in my passion and my confidence about this once they started to go after Aiden, because they were literally in real time showing you the same exact tactics and procedures that they had done to Karen Reed. And it was clear they were fooling nobody. And the funniest part about all of this is that when they were doing all this throughout the summer, October, December, whatever, more eyes were alert to this. No eyes were, when what happened to Karen Reed happened, nobody was alert. None of us were alert to this. Yeah, it was on the news. You go back, you look at the old clip of Aiden. Even Aiden back then was kind of like this about it because he didn't know enough information yet, because nobody did. This wasn't a story that was catching, sustained attention. It didn't become a big time story till Aiden started to blog about it in 2023. And that's what I found out about this case. I started to read his blogs, already had a channel, decided to start talking about it about 6-7 months later. But this is what this boils down to. These people, these officers are here not to investigate. They are shook. They are shook to their core because they know if this information gets out, their jobs could be on the line. And guess what's happened since? Is Michael Proctor still a Massachusetts State Police officer? No. Is Brian Tully? No. Is Yuri? Sure, but he's been rehomed. And a few other officers have had different changes, and some of them, even in the Boston Police Department, are no longer officers. There's been a lot of change in Canton. The chief of police, Helena Rafferty, is no longer there. There's been a lot of changes because of this. And the fact is if these people were not wrong or had not done anything wrong, they would still be officers to this day. Helena Rafferty would still be chief of police. Michael Proctor would still have a job. Tully would have never retired. None of this would have ever happened. But because there's a level of truth to this, these departments are looking from within and saying, we need to calm this down because our officers went too far. And that's it. And then the news it was like, oh, pretty girl ran over cop boyfriend, like it was news because it was a cop, but no one thought anything else of it back then. Exactly. Now, here's the thing. I probably saw that news story when it aired, but I'll be honest with you, I don't even remember that story. I don't even remember that story at all. I remember just reading Aiden's article, I think April or May, and then being like, what's Aiden writing about here? But I don't even remember when the story happened at all. I do not recall. I do not recall at all that story as it happened. I probably watched the news that day, probably just like any headline. There's numerous headlines that pop up on the news all the time. And then you just, like anything, you just kind of go on with your day and forget about it. And all that. But these guys are actively trying to save their own ass here. is what's happening. They are absolutely scared. They're in a panic. And that's why I tried to shut down Turtleboy as quickly as they did. Show up at his house. Let's get him arrested. Let's get him in jail. That was the whole plan. That was the whole procedure. And they did it to Karen. They arrested Karen. They went after Karen. They went back to a repeat trip back to her home there for her phone, obviously. A repeat trip back to her house, to arrest her. You see all the clips. We've seen the security footage of what's gone on. This has been, these officers have been trying to cover up a murder is what happened. They covered up the murder of John O'Keefe. That's what they did. And there's no question about it. And if I'm wrong about that, and anybody is wrong about that, then these officers would all still have their jobs, if not have been promoted or whatnot since. But I don't see that evidence. I look at the fruits of their destinies, and I see these officers being banished from their departments, some of them retiring, police chiefs taking over for them. This has been a lot of change here because there's a lot of bad imagery associated with this. And they did this because they thought they could get away with it. They did this because they thought they could get away with this. And they went too far. They thought they had more reach than what they did. They thought this thing could happen because Karen Reed decided not to go quietly into the night and decided to stand tall and decided to fight for her rights and her freedom. This story got out there more and more and more as it has. And this has caused a lot of problems for all the bad people out there. It has. And that's why they don't like you. And that's why they don't like me. And that's why they don't like Karen. And that's why they don't like Aiden, because we are all of the belief that Karen Reed's innocent. And to be honest with you, when the verdict happened, did you see any blue shirts out there? Did you see any blue shirts out there at all? Or was it all pink shirts? It was predominantly pink shirts because the majority of people believed in Karen Reed's innocence. And if Karen Reed had been the villain that they had made her out to be, I'm sure people out there would have been saying, oh, yeah, she did it. There's no question about it. Burn her at the stake. That's what people would have been saying because most people can see through all this stuff. And that's exactly what happened. If you look at the percentage of people that believed in Karen Reed's innocence compared to the people that believed in Karen Reed's guilt, it was absolutely lopsided. Absolutely lopsided. Pink shirts rule. That's the way it was in Dedham. The pink shirts dominated it. And the pink shirts were such a threat that even the judge had to make a buffer zone because they didn't want this case influenced, did they?
No. The transcript you said you saw this transcript, the transcript which Aiden published, are those questions, to the best of your knowledge, are those questions asked in the same order chronologically in time that he asked you, or are those transposed in time? Do you want to reference it? You want to take a look?
So prior to Monday, when Aiden called you, you spoke to no one before Monday that any had asked you similar questions?
No. You can leaf through the next several pages there. That's the part 93 of Aiden, also known as Turtleboy's blog.
Threatened by that blog. Threatened by that blog. Those people, when those blogs came out, those people, they were panicking. Those people, I guarantee you, were out there behind closed doors having conversations. And, there's some photos that were posted of a couple of gatherings out there as well. Exactly. People selling their homes, moving to Maine, all that stuff. A lot of changes. And as far as I'm concerned about this civil suit against Karen and Aiden, as far as I'm concerned, they're just doing that to counter to the one that Karen Reed's placed on them. And also to that point, I believe that this is also to basically two reasons for Aiden: get back at him and cause him financial harm. That's what's happening here. And hey, people spoke last week. $85,000 worth of people spoke last week, myself included. I made a donation of just like anybody else. $85,000, I think it was, worth of people spoke clearly last Sunday saying, guess what? We support Aiden Carney and we believe Aiden Carney and we believe that he should be financially basically blessed here and showered to fight for himself to stand up against that civil suit. So, yep, because that's what it's all about at the end of the day. Let's not pay attention to all the battles online among whatever, because at the end of the day, the same people don't like Aiden and don't like Karen, and that's how I see it. And that's all that matters to me, is that this is about justice. This is about keeping our eye on the ball. This is about justice for John O'Keefe. It's about Karen Reed. It's about Aiden Carney, all prevailing, all getting justice in one way or another. And John O'Keefe, we can't let him die in vain. We can't let him die in vain here. They tried to shut down Karen Reed. Karen Reed said it herself. She was the only one that did something. She was the only one that tried to significantly and sufficiently try to help out John O'Keefe in his situation. And her reaction to him was completely organic, totally organic. This is not a woman that in any way, shape, or form blatantly tried to murder her own boyfriend. All right. No question that this woman is innocent. It's obvious. It's always been obvious. And that's the bottom line. And anybody that's telling you Karen Reed did this is lying, hates Aiden, or is blowing smoke up your ass. That's basically the way I look at it. And you look at everything that's happened, you know, locking up Aiden, all that. But what they underestimated at that time is they estimated everybody else, that only Aiden's popularity would grow. People like myself who had been tweeting about it suddenly began talking about using their YouTube channel. I'd shut down my YouTube channel and paused it in September, October 2023. I didn't want to talk about sports anymore. I needed a break. I was burnt out. Then I ended up talking about this stuff on my show. Richie from Microdots reached out to me and said, he kept private messaging me, do your own show, Mazza. Mazza, start to do your own show. Start to do your own show. Start to do your own show. You're a great voice. Do it. And I said, all right, Richie. I go, look, I shut down my show months ago. I don't want to do the show anymore. He goes, dude, you got to get out there. You got to talk about this stuff. So I did. And I'm glad I did. I'm glad I helped out because we ended up doing a lot of great fundraisers. And Richie kind of was pumping my tires to start, you know, doing my shows again. And I did. And like I said, I was kind of done with online stuff. And then, you know, little I know, this was not only going to, you know, I was not only going to be able to help, but this was going to be something that other people were going to start doing as well. And people out there in the streets with signs, all that stuff. This is going to become a real big thing. And I'm blessed to be a part of it. Thank you, Makasi. I appreciate that. I like your show as well, man. The beach walks are good too. I like the beach walks. Gatuni. I like when you say Gatuni.
These questions that he asked me, but I'm finding discrepancies already.
Point out the discrepancies?
Yes.
Red Solo cups, baby.
No, they said as long as the police have ordered the testimony. I told him that I'm not talking to anyone unless it's attached to a badge or a subpoena.
Did the private investigators present a badge or a subpoena?
No. They introduced themselves as private investigators for the defense team. To me, that was sufficient enough for me to warrant to go with them and to cooperate.
Okay.
He's asking questions regarding a memo referring to Turtleboy and questions asked. And we were instructed that he give our name out. He's got that wrong. It's completely wrong.
In what respect is that wrong?
We were told that we can speak. We're not to answer the question. So if he says and answer the question, our response was to be no comment.
So there's multiple discrepancies in what he has written and what.
Yes, I got the Blackstone grill. I got the propane tank. I just got to season the thing today, and I just got to get a propane monitor on it, and then I should be good to go. I'll have that thing ready to cook either tonight or tomorrow. Thank you for that comment.
Actually happened and what you answered when he asked you those questions.
Correct.
Okay. Is there anything that you shared with the private investigators that you think we should know about? Based on your conversation with them, that is important to this investigation and getting to the bottom of the truth?
I have stated all along, for whatever reason, the only thing out of the ordinary that I saw the entire night was the Ford Edge.
Okay. So the only thing out of the ordinary that night was the Ford Edge. You didn't see, even after the police arrived, you still had not seen the body, and you said you were already on Fairview when you saw the police at the scene.
Correct.
But you still had not seen the body.
Correct.
Did you ever see the body out there even while the police were on scene?
No.
How far away were you from where the body was found and where you were parked, looking towards the scene? How far away were you?
When they originally stopped, I was on Cedar Crest trying to turn left onto Fairview and was not able to.
And what time of day was this?
Early morning.
Good night, Donna.
Was it daylight outside or was it still dark?
It was still dark.
Still dark. So before sunrise, before dawn.
Correct.
Okay. But you, from that, your vantage point, you didn't see the body.
Correct.
Did you ever see a vehicle on that street driving? Did you encounter any traveling vehicles on that street that morning?
There were several. I mean, throughout the entire storm.
So several vehicles you saw on Fairview.
Correct.
Did any vehicles stop at the home while you're plowing?
Not to my neck. And when I saw him, I was going the opposite direction. So I would say no.
So just so I have it correct, you saw vehicles traveling on Fairview, but they were going the opposite direction. So you have no knowledge of them stopping in front of the Fairview, 34 Fairview address.
Correct.
Do you recall what types of vehicles they were?
I do not.
Okay. When you stopped and were not able to take a left onto Fairview on Cedar Crest that early morning of the 29th of September, what were the weather conditions at that point?
Snowing very heavily.
Very heavily. When would you say the snow became very heavy?
I would say around 4:35. That's.
When you observed the Ford Edge, was it accumulating snow on top of it? Was it covered?
No, it was not.
It was not.
It was not. If it had maybe an inch or two at the time, if that.
The last time you saw the Ford Edge there, had it accumulated any snow on top of it?
No.
Did you see where the Ford Edge?
Because I mean, if Lucky had plowed 34 Fairview Road a couple times over and never seen a body, then the Commonwealth and the Canton Police Department and the Massachusetts State Police would have a really big gaping hole in their story, wouldn't there? And there should have been a body there at some point, but the plow driver just never saw it.
Went to after it left the front of Fairview?
No.
You didn't see it in the driveway, in the neighbor's driveway, and you didn't see any tracks where the direction it traveled?
No, I did not.
And was the Ford Edge one of the vehicles traveling, to the best of your knowledge?
No.
Okay. Good. All right, Mr. Laughlin, thank you so much for your time. It is now 12:25 on the dot, and we're going to conclude this interview.
We also, just as a show of appreciation for you today, sir, we just want to give you a $10 gift card to Starbucks, as well as a $10 gift card to Dunkin' Donuts. We do appreciate it. Thank you so much.
It's 12:30 p.m. Trooper Michael Proctor, PROCTOR, along with
Sergeant Yuri Buchanek, BUKHENIK, with the Norfolk District.
Soon to be former Mass State Police Officer Michael Proctor. It's 12:25.
Attorney's office here in the Norfolk District Attorney's Office Community Room. Present with us is
Brian Loughren, LOUGHRAN.
Brian, before walking out, you remember something and you want to volunteer certain information to further support additional discrepancies with accounts that have been discussed and described and documented and produced on Turtleboy's platforms. Can you further share with us and this recording what you stated to us prior to concluding leaving the office?
Right. If there was a body, he wouldn't just see it, he would have called it in. Because he reported a basketball net, for bleep's sakes. Exactly, Lori. Exactly.
Yeah. It states in the transcripts that I was presented with GPS information from the FBI. That is utterly false. I was never given any information other than.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. You additionally said there was other discrepancies during an interview about your practices plowing the roadways. Can you go into detail discussing those and how you learned about those?
I was asked by the private investigators from the defense team for Karen Reed that stated I said that I ring row to the left. I can't ring row to the left. I'm in the middle of the road. I would bury the other side of the road. Again, it's always ring row to the right.
So when you discuss ring row, can you go into detail, like tell us about that? We're not in the business, so what does ring rowing mean in your profession?
So when you are plowing.
Right. How would nobody see a body? I mean, that's just like Jody said. This is just basic fundamentals. How would you not? How could you not? I mean, nothing?
And the snow comes off your plow, it leaves a row of snow. It is called a ring row. So it's a continuous row of snow. If you put it in the left, it is adding an additional amount of snow on the ground that's there, plus what's coming off my plow.
So ring rowing to the left, which side of the blade, as you're moving forward, is further ahead?
The right-hand side.
And ring rowing to the right, which part of the blade is ahead?
The left side of the blade.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. And you said they presented you with a... That was your watch? Okay.
I apologize.
No worries, it's all good. So you said they presented you with the statement you said. Can you just walk us through how that whole thing transpired?
Just to clarify, they being the defense team's private investigators.
So we initially had an interview, my first interview with the defense team's private investigators.
Did they audio record that interview like we're recording it today?
No.
Okay. So it was just basically what they asked you, you responded, what they presented you as a fact, you'd respond.
That's a good point. I agree with that, Jody. That's something I thought of too. Wouldn't it have scattered down the street and been all over the place? Why would it just all be right there for the collecting? That never made sense to me either. There's no way you would not see it. And it's also like a tiny area. Exactly. It's a small area. If you've ever been down there, it's small. You notice anything. If a bunny rabbit was hopping through a yard, you'd notice it in 10 seconds. Instantly, I should say.
To verifying or denying that that's accurate?
Correct.
And they presented you with a statement that they claimed you made?
Correct.
And what was that statement?
They stated that I started the route on Fairview with my plow ring rowing to the left-hand side. And I said that is incorrect. I always ring row to the right to prevent additional snow from my plow going on top of whatever snow is on the ground, making the left-hand side of the road unpassable.
So that's an incorrect statement, and you never did that the night of January 29th?
No.
And at the time of the 29th, was the truck you were operating equipped with GPS location information to track your...
All town vehicles are GPS. I've been told, which is normally not something I would know, but I have been told that the GPS at the time of the snow were down, and they were down.
By the way, Franken Truck is the greatest truck name for a plow truck ever.
At the repeater, not at the trucks.
I see. So the system had a problem. Your individual truck did not have an issue. And you learned this the night of, or did you learn that the GPS had been down for a while?
I learned that the GPS was down about 2 weeks ago and had no idea if GPS was down.
Okay. Is there anything else that you remember?
Because there was a massive explosion. So basically, the taillight just exploded and just went all over into the yard, basically, and caused pattern wounds on his arm that resembled teeth marks and claw marks. It was an incredible sight. You would not believe it. It was the most incredible thing ever. It was just a perfectly, just everything that happened just happened in a way that made it seem like Karen Reed did it. It was unbelievable, right? But yeah. That's just, it's a wild set of circumstances unfolded that night that somehow meant that Karen Reed did it. Right. Yeah, it's crazy. Scott McGinnis is in the house. He says, Yuri and Proctor were fishing Lucky for info. They found out the FBI went to Lucky by Turtleboy's reporting. Exactly. Oh, my goodness.
That you think would be important to share and clarify with us today?
No.
Mr. Law 30.
All right, so we'll pause there for a second. See if there's any other videos we can run through on this. Let's take a look. Let's see what else we got here. I mean, my goodness gracious, that was just insane to watch. That this is what these guys are up to. This is their plan of attack. This is their approach. They're trying to, cover their own, whats. Let's listen to the Canton Police Department dispatch from January 29, 2022. Kerry Roberts. There we go.
Sound good.
Hi, my name is Sarah. I'm calling because my friend's boyfriend did not come home last night. We were at Waterfall, and now she is calling me hysterical because she doesn't know where he is You didn't pick anybody up by the name of John O'Keefe, did you?
John O'Keefe?
Yeah, he's a Boston cop, and it would be on foot, but
No.
I think he probably got a ride and passed out at someone's house. I don't know, but
Yeah, no, we didn't lock anybody up or anything like that. And where does he live?
he lives on Meadow, there at the Pleasant.
He lives on Meadow off of Pleasant. Okay, and where's the wife home? You said his girlfriend?
It's his girlfriend. Yeah, they were out having drinks, and then she left and expected him to come home at some point, and he never did.
Yep.
And so I said to her, you know, my husband had been out with him earlier in the night, but then he came home, and he has custody of his niece and nephew because their parents passed away.
Okay.
And so she's home with the niece and nephew, and they're old enough to be home. It's just she's nervous because he never even called the niece.
Yeah.
So she's like, I feel like something happened, and I said, okay. Well, so I called the area hospital. Nobody happened. I personally think someone probably picked him up and he passed out. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He didn't drive last night?
No.
No. Okay. I mean, well, again, it's more, it would be driven by you. She would have to, call in or come to the station and talk to us. But I mean, as of right now, it's more, he just didn't come home last night. Is this common sometimes happen with him?
No. That's why. That's because he didn't tell his niece. That's kind of why she's more freaking out. So I figured I called the area hospital. I said I would call Canton police just to make sure he didn't get picked up. But like I said, he's a Boston police officer. He knows a bunch of people. Anybody could have picked him up.
Yeah.
Freaking it out.
Okay.
Apparently they were having a blizzard party of some sort.
Yeah, no.
I don't know.
Unfortunately, I wasn't there. I was stuck here. But we didn't get any calls, anything like that. Nobody was arrested or anything like that.
Okay.
All righty.
All right. Well, thank you.
All right, no problem. Good luck.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
No, please, what's going on? What's your emergency?
Yes, I need someone to come to 34 Fairview Road in Canton, Mass. There's a man passed out in the snow.
You're in Canton? Hold on. I'm transferring the Canton police. You connected to Note, okay?
Yeah, I don't know why I did that.
It's at the house. Did I stand line?
I think he's dead. You gotta get here ASAP, okay?
I'm going to transfer line. I'm transfer to Canton.
Okay. I know. Where are the blankets? I don't see blankets, Terry.
911 emergency.
You hear Karen absolutely losing her mind, as you'd expect. You would expect Karen Reed to lose her mind, especially if Karen Reed was innocent. An innocent Karen Reed would be losing her mind. A guilty Karen Reed would be like, oh my God, this is terrible. Yes,
I need someone to come immediately to 34 Fairview Road, Canton, Mass.
What's going on?
There's a guy unresponsive in the snow.
We've gone over this before. There's a guy, just a guy. A guy who's a friend, by the way. Great friend, but But yeah, there's a guy. Just a guy. I don't know who he is. There's a guy here.
No,
He passed out. Yes, 34, the Albert resident. Yes, I just pulled up and found him.
Okay, 34 Fairview?
34 Fairview, Canton, Mass. Yes.
911 is on your board. Where's your emergency?
I don't know.
Hello?
Yeah.
Karen Reed consistently in a panic because she didn't do it. Bottom line. Anybody that thinks Karen Reed did this is out of their mind.
Sorry, can you come to 34 Fairview Road in Canton?
34 Fairview?
Yes, there's a man unresponsive in the snow.
Okay. Is he,
He's got to get here, okay?
Okay. What's going on? Is he face down?
We just flipped him over.
Okay. And who's that in the background? Is that someone related?
That's his girlfriend. His name is John O'Keefe.
Okay, how old is he?
John is 46 years old.
46. How long has he been outside?
I don't know. I don't know. He got out of the car and
a
couple of hours.
Karen Reed said she was the only one that did anything to save the situation. She's just, again, Karen Reed's reacting exactly how you'd expect. In shock and horror, in fact.
I don't know if he's breathing. There are two women trying to do his body heat, and they're hysterical.
Okay, can you just try to ask me? I know it's tough, but we already have the fire department going. They just got to know what's happening.
Is he breathing, you guys? No, it doesn't seem to be breathing.
Okay, do they know how to do CPR? Do they want to attempt CPR?
Can you guys do CPR? No, I guess he's gone.
Okay, they don't feel comfortable doing so?
No, I think he's passed away.
Okay. All right, we have the fire department and the police department on the way. If everyone's declining CPR, then I'll hang up with you, and if anything changes, you can give us a call back. Where are you guys outside?
Oh, right out front of his car. I know. I'm on the phone with the ambulance. I know, honey. I know. Just Carrie, you got to get off him, honey. Carrie, you got to get off of him.
You know if there's any alcohol or drugs involved?
They had been out.
They've been out drinking?
Yes, but I'm talking hours ago, maybe. And I don't know how long he's been in the snow.
Okay, is there any bleeding or anything? Maybe hit his head out?
Yes, possibly. There seems to be bleeding in the face.
Okay, bleeding from the face. All right.
Yes.
And how big the pool of blood, if there is any?
Something's coming out of his nose, and one of the women is doing CPR.
Okay, one of them is doing CPR?
Yes, they're both working on him.
All right, if she's doing CPR, just give us a call back if he becomes responsive, right? But we're on the way.
Okay, thank you.
Bye. Control 2, Canton 683.
I mean, the level of shock that Karen must have had when they found out, like when she found out they were coming for her as the culprit. Oh yeah, well, you did this, Karen. It was you. Yeah, it was you. It's like, how the hell would you possibly think it was me? I dropped the guy off. I left and went back to his place. And then all of a sudden, so yeah, you did it. Yeah, it was you. This story is just absolutely insane. This is why we're still talking about it even after 2 trials. We're still here talking about it because the civil suit's coming up, but other matters coming up. But my goodness.
You start making your way to 34th Fairview Road for an unresponsive male body in the snow. 695, you saw that way as well. Got it. Control 2692.
Actually, you know what? I don't know much about the medical, but that would make sense to me. Instructions of CPR should have been mandatory. Oh, is he still breathing? Is alive? No, he's dead. I don't think they should ever be allowing a civilian to make a determination on somebody being dead. You know what I mean? So that's a great point. Love the LED.
Your turn here.
Can't police officer Devin Klein recording.
Elliot's Paul. What's the address of that scene? Is it by his house or is it on Fairview? Because Lieutenant's asking me what's going on Fairview.
Yep, it's 32 Fairview Road.
Okay, so it's not even his house. Okay, perfect. All right, I'm on my way. Thank you.
All right, sound good. Bye. 911, the sign's recording. Where's your emergency?
It's in Canton.
All right, in Canton, what's going on?
There's a police officer that my daughter dates. His name is John O'Keefe. She's devastated. She just called me. They found him dead in the snow, and she's threatening to take her life. Please, somebody's got to get there.
Okay, what's the address?
I can't help you. I don't know. I'm her father.
Okay, what's your daughter's name?
Karen Reed, R-E-A-D, and the police officer is John O'Keefe. He lives in Canton. He's a Boston police officer. She found him dead in the snow. She's threatening to take her life, and there's 2 young children. He lost his sister 9 years ago, and he lost his brother-in-law 3 months after that. He's been the caretaker.
Okay.
I'm indicting with my wife, and I can't get there.
That's okay. We have officers on scene at that right now. I'm not sure what's going on. I don't know the status or anything like that. But what's your daughter's name, Karen?
Karen, she's going to be in protection.
I absolutely miss Bill Reed. I have not seen Bill Reed in person. I have not talked to Bill Reed since probably February, before the second trial. I have not talked to him. Actually, you know what? I saw him in person. Actually, wait a second. I saw him in person outside the courthouse. Janet said hi to me before the second trial. But yeah, I miss those people a lot. They were great people. Bill and Janet are wonderful people. Miss them to death. Love them.
Custody. Someone's got to get to her.
Are you aware of the party on scene or the caller named Karen? I have a father on the line. She's been making suicidal comments. Do you know a location for her?
Yeah, she's with the party.
Received. Okay, I just spoke with my officer. She is with people on scene. I'm not exactly sure what's going on. I'm going to follow up with him just to make sure that everything's being handled appropriately and that she's not alone. Can I get your information?
Please, ma'am.
What's your first name?
Bill or William.
Yep, and your last name?
Reed, R-E-A-D.
And phone number. All right, you live in Dighton?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I did confirm that she is with people right now so that before I hang up the phone with you, I can at least tell you that she is in a secure environment. But give me just a moment. It's hard to communicate over the radios right now. We're having trouble with transmitters and everything.
I'm going to stop the share on that. I want to switch gears here. This audio is just kind of really starting to disturb me. I apologize. I just can't listen to it anymore. I'm sorry. I had to shut it off. Yeah, Kelly Reed does rule. Love Kelly Reed. Yeah, that audio is it's just tough to listen to that. Let's talk about Enrique Delgado Garcia. We got Kevin O'Malley and Enrique Delgado Garcia to talk about here. I'm going to start looking into the Kevin O'Malley case a little bit more. I just got to do more research on it before I start to cover it, but I know David Yannetti is covering it. So there's been some changes here. This came out this week. The state police delay academy class in wake of Enrique Delgado's death. The announcement comes after the results of an independent police probe following the trooper's death during a boxing training exercise in 2024. Mass State Police are delaying their academy class until more than 30 priority recommendations are implemented. That includes 22 of the recommendations that must be implemented before I will allow the next class, the 93rd class, to start, and 9 that must be underway before the class starts. This is coming from Police Colonel Jeffrey Noble. This announcement comes after the results of an independent probe of the Academy following the death of Enrique Delgado Garcia after suffering concussion-like symptoms during boxing training at the Mass State Police Academy in 2024. He died after suffering concussion-like symptoms during boxing training at the 90th Academy class. His stepfather, Joseph Perez Garcia, told us the family is happy state police are removing the boxing program. We feel happy about that. It's a step that has been taken so that future generations won't face the same problem, Perez Garcia said in Spanish. Those measures they are taking are good because the goal is for this not to happen again. 4 troopers are facing criminal charges, as you know. Trooper Casey Lamonte pleaded not guilty to involuntary manslaughter and causing serious bodily injury earlier this month. 3 others, Lieutenant Jennifer Panton and troopers Edwin Rodriguez, the boxer, of course, the professional boxer, and David Montanez, were arraigned on April 2nd in Worcester Superior Court and pleaded not guilty to those same charges in September 2024's death of Delgado Garcia. Penton, their supervisor, also faces perjury charges for allegedly giving false testimony to a special statewide grand jury. This is the full report here. But yeah, they're getting rid of boxing. So Noble went over the report conducted by International Association of Chiefs of Police, an agency that helps law enforcement agencies develop best practices. Quote, and I renew our commitment to honoring his life as service, and we will honor that through meaningful action, Noble said. The department has already paused boxing for the last 2 academies, but is now permanently ending it. We will be establishing a new civilian academy director of training who will work alongside the commandment, Noble said. The report found the academy meets all state requirements, but red flags several areas, including academy leadership and recruit turnover, stress training with no clear objective, lack of consistency in training, and aging infrastructure. Governor Maura Healey ordered the assessment after Delgado Garcia's death. Quote, we will continue to work each day, I know the Colonel does, to ensure that we have the highest quality training and professional development within the academy, she said. Retired Newton and Walpole Police Chief John Carmichael trained in the State Police Academy. He said that with the boxing program being removed, there needs to be a replacement program that serves the same goal. I do agree with that statement, by the way. I do. I 100% believe that if you're a police officer, you need to be trained in combat to some degree to be prepared for what you may deal with on the street. They're exposing them to stress. They're exposing them to that conflict that they may experience out in the street, said Carmichael. And, I do martial arts. I mean, I was just last Tuesday, I was sparring with boxing gloves. I had my mouthpiece in, boxing gloves on. I'm throwing punches left and right, getting hit back and forth all day. I didn't walk out dead, but it just tells me that the level of, my personal opinion on this matter is I don't see it as boxing being an issue. I see it as the overseeing of the boxing training on that academy being an issue. So I personally feel like boxing should continue. I understand the Massachusetts State Police want to get rid of it to save face. I do think it's a necessary thing that should be used to train your officers, but I feel like they were negligent and reckless in how they conducted the training at that academy, and how nobody could have ever stepped in and said, hey, this needs to be shut down. That's what I have an issue with. Because again, I box and do martial arts every single week. To this day, I haven't been killed. And basically that tells me who's overseeing that training. Why are they not saying to themselves, geez, Enrique looks a little bit knocked out. Why don't we shut this down and take him out of the circulation of training for the next couple of days while we assess his headspace? Just like the NFL. The NFL has concussion protocol. They oversee all this stuff. If things get out of line and out of control, that fighter is not permitted. It's like basketball. Someone gets hurt on the basketball court, they sit him down. It should be even more obvious in boxing. Look, I mean, that's the issue I have. I don't have an issue with boxing. I don't have an issue with boxing training being there. I have an issue with that not being looked at as, hey, this guy is a deer in the headlights right now. Get him out of there. He's got a concussion. They don't have people that are recognizing that. And so it's not a problem with boxing. It's a problem with because boxing schools exist all over the country and all over the world. Okay. You're not hearing about people getting knocked out and killed in that manner ever. And maybe occasionally, but not really ever. And that's what that comes down to, is just having a controlled environment that they can regulate, look over and review and say, okay, this is getting out of hand. This kid cannot continue. We need to sit him down. And if they can't do that, that to me is the problem with the boxing at the academy. They're not properly overseeing it. And that's the bottom line. This story really bothered me when it happened. And, being someone that has done martial arts involving boxing glove training, even MMA glove training, I feel like I'm someone that can talk about this and firsthand experience. Because again, like I said, last Tuesday night, I'm throwing gloves with people. I do it all, do it often. It's not something, we know when someone's getting, we so much as accidentally ding each other. And I'll usually say to somebody, hey, dude, are you cool? Are you good? Did I kick your leg too hard? Are you good? You shook, let me know. We'll slow it down, no worries, because that happens when you spar. You're gonna throw hands, you're gonna hit somebody and clock them a little too much, or you might put a little too much. There was one time I think I dinged somebody a little bit harder than I expected just because it was an instinctual move. It's just that's what happens. But when people are messed up, when people are broken down, when a guy can't compete, and that's where they messed up. They shouldn't have had him out there. They should have, there's enough punches that can happen gradually to build up to someone being incapable of fighting. And then you should know how to stop that. To me, that's the issue. They didn't know when to stop that. You know what I'm saying? Boxing is above the waist, though, but so isn't martial arts. Martial arts is hand and foot contact. But my school, we use boxing gloves and just throw hands sometimes. But yeah, they needed more regulation than that. I personally would not call for the shutdown of boxing at the academy. I would have called for a regulation of procedure at the academy in terms of monitoring people that are a little bit dinged up and making sure that they're good to go and that they're not continually boxing. But I understand that the state just wants to shut it down because they basically want to cleanse their hands of this and basically be like, okay, this happened. We don't want to deal with it. We don't want to be dealing with this anymore. We're just getting rid of boxing altogether, but what are you going to do next? You're going to get rid of the firing range too. So your officers can't practice shooting, and they're going to go out in public and not be able to hit a target. How far do you go? That's my argument too. These officers, whether you like them or not, need to be trained sufficiently. Then not every officer is going to be able to grab his handgun in time to stave off somebody attacking him. They're going to have to throw hands. A lot of martial artists, a lot of officers do martial arts. They go to jiu-jitsu schools. They go to boxing academies anyways. They'll just have to do that on their own time, which they can always freely do. There's nothing stopping them from doing a martial arts school anywhere in the state. You can always go on your own time. Just like when officers lift weights in their own time, a lot of them just lift weights, probably in their department, but it's something they can't do themselves in their own time. You know what I mean? So that's basically that. Let's talk about Kevin O'Malley, if we will here. Let me get Gary. But yeah, I just think it's something that was completely avoidable. And I don't know what company would be at Academy. Was it too like you can get out there and do this. So David Yannetti put out an immediate release on May 20th, which is 3 days ago now. I'm going to go ahead and open this up in my browser here. And then that should be sharing now. And let me get the other image while I'm at it and open this in a new tab. That's the key to enlarging images on your show is you have to basically open up an image on Twitter in a new tab. Hand-to-hand combat is not something cops should be doing ever. Well, when a cop is faced with something, they might have to use hand-to-hand combat. You just never know when a situation is going to go completely off the rails. You're going to have to use combative means to protect yourself and save your life. That's my personal take, Nanya. Love you, Nanya. In Florida, there's a police academy where you just have to do 1 mile around the track and you can walk it. Very reassuring. That's crazy. Oh, that's good to know. Let's say something about something else here. Mary B, been trying to figure out how to Zoom. Yeah. So what you do is if you go to Twitter, so if I share this on Twitter, this is the Twitter tab right here. I can't zoom in on this. You see how small this is right here. So what you do is you right click. I'm not sure if this pops up, but you open an image in a new tab. Then you go to that tab and now it's open in its own tab where you can zoom in on it. So that's how it's done. Well, they should never be punching citizens ever, but you're talking about a cop just punching somebody egregiously. That's not the purpose of the boxing training. The boxing training is to train the officer in combat. So if they ever get in a situation where they're personally being attacked, they can use hand-to-hand combat as a means of self-defense or to neutralize the situation. That's the purpose of that. It's not about officers popping up in their cars. They have all sorts of tools to use before punching. Well, obviously, you're getting ahead of yourself. So obviously, an officer is going to attempt to try to use words first. They're going to try to they're trained in de-escalation. They're going to try to use words first. They're going to try to do all that. And then I think, Danya, you and I have had this debate in this chat before. But again, all this is, it's like being trained to use a firearm. I know you are. You have had this debate before. I remember it now. Just because they're trained to use a firearm does not mean they're trained to go out and just start shooting citizens either. They're trained to do everything. It's like first you use your words. Then if they come at you, maybe you can use your hands or a taser gun. If it becomes a combative situation that you need to use your firearm, you use your firearm, right? This is not about training officers to go out and take to the streets and brutalize citizens with their fists and taser guns and firearms unjustifiably. Sometimes it's argued that happens. But it's better to punch them than to shoot them. Enrique was in unsanctioned fights the day before, concussed, and never should have fought the next day in the sanctioned fights. How it all went wrong. This is when panic CYA mode. Yeah, so it's just, like I said, this is about training officers with a series of means to use at their disposal, using those means as needed, meaning if you need to punch somebody in a situation, you're going to have to do it. If you need to use your taser gun in a situation, you're going to have to do it. If you need to use a firearm, you might have to use your firearm. But it depends on the situation and circumstances. Because I know if I'm a police officer and someone's got a shotgun or like what happened just a couple days ago in Cambridge happens, I know I'm pulling out my firearm and I'm going to fire back at the guy because I'm not going to let myself get killed and I'm not going to let him kill innocent civilians. So that's a situation that's justifiable, and using a firearm in self-defense as an officer. Getting to David Yannetti, he released this. This is for immediate release on May 20th. For Nicholas O'Malley, he sent this out as a press release to all media outlets. I guess I'm not really technically officially media. I'm kind of like unofficially media. Let's see what we got here. So he says, today we learned that the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office filed a no prosecute. I can't even say these words. Why do these attorneys always use words I cannot? I got to go to law school here. No prosecute of the pending case against our client, Boston police officer Nicholas O'Malley in the Roxbury Division of the Boston Municipal Court. That means there will be no court tomorrow. That was for the 21st. This is a remarkable turn of events, something that we have never encountered in decades of practice, and it is wrong. Recall that the DA's office arrested O'Malley only 8 days after a shooting of a dangerous carjacking suspect who had put the officer's partner and the public in grave peril. Right? By arresting the officer so quickly without presenting any evidence to the grand jury, the DA's office signaled that the arrest could not wait for the full exploration of the available evidence. That's what this case is really starting to unearth here, is a situation in which The DA's office is just like in Norfolk County, just like we saw with Kelsey Fitzsimmons, another DA's office just doing their thing again. They were essentially announcing that they had to arrest him because they had believed there was some urgency. They could not let Officer O'Malley simply report to court on his own. They needed to parade him before the media in handcuffs and have him photographed in the court dock. We now know that it was all a stunt. If having a pending a charge was so important that it could not wait for the grand jury to hear the case, why is that pending charge now dismissed? The answer is obvious. The DA's office has provided minimal discovery to the defense. This is similar to the Karen Reed case in Norfolk County. Information not being provided, the DA's office rushing to judgment on a person that's being prosecuted, not supplying all the information. It's insanity. Minimal discovery to the defense, despite the fact that the case has been pending in the court for over 2 months. The defense does not have witness statements. Our own client's statement, police reports regarding the violent carjacking that occurred on the night in question, and other crucial discovery material. Given that the prosecution would not provide this material voluntarily to us to comply with their ethical duties and their sense of fairness to the man they are trying to prosecute, we filed discovery motions to ask a judge to order them to provide this mandatory discovery to us. Those motions were to be heard in court tomorrow. Instead, prosecutors went to court on their own to file an old pro SK and end the case. This is by no means a usual practice. Every day in just about every court in the Commonwealth, he's making sense here. Every day in just about every court in the Commonwealth, the DA's office fights to keep a district or municipal court case alive until a client is arraigned in superior court. Prosecutors insist on having a case pending at all times until the prosecution is concluded. Here, the DA's office decided otherwise so as to avoid having our discovery motions heard. In the aftermath of this nolle proske, our firm has contacted the prosecution today to demand basic, mandatory discovery immediately. Despite having waited for 2 months, we are now being told that we have to wait longer until our client's arraignment in superior court. This is unacceptable and, quite frankly, cowardly. But make no mistake about it, we will not be deterred. Whatever tricks the prosecution has in mind, they will not work. We will fully investigate this case and get to the truth despite the roadblocks they attempt to put in front of us. This indictment was a foregone conclusion once they made the ill-advised decision to charge Officer O'Malley with the crime, even though he was just doing his job and protecting the public. We look forward to his arraignment in superior court so we can continue to fight these false charges. And that's the level of outrageousness that David Yannetti deals with on a daily basis, especially in this case. Mo West writes, the police should be physically fit. Like Makasi G, he looks like he'd be a good cop. That's fine. I don't know if that was in reference to that, but yeah, this is, this is just a situation I'm starting to look into now. Again, Yannetti's out here once again, like a champ, borrowing from Mo-esque, once again, dealing with another case. That's what bothers me about the court system is you have someone like David Yannetti not getting all the information at hand. And that's not being provided. This is when I start to look at this and I say, okay, is this a case I should start following? Kevin O'Malley's GiveSendGo, somebody provided it to me the other day. That's already over $500,000. That's incredible. Over $500,000 already for him, which is unbelievable. But ladies and gentlemen, I'll come back another time. I'm going to start looking into that case. I got to do my own research on it. I might just do a research session on this show sometime, and we'll all do it together, educate ourselves and all that. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning into Maza Media today. It was good to be back live for 2 hours, 45 minutes. Tomorrow night at 6 o'clock, we're back again. We're back again with what we have here is the Kelsey Fitzsimmons Fundraiser 16. Now, I got that going on, and now also I got the Blackstone Grill that people are asking about. To everybody that had said that they had people threw some super chats my way last week for that Blackstone grill. I'll send you a quick video right now. Let me share it. Thank you to those people that sent me a little extra there as a gift. I was kind of a little bit like, oh, thank you. But here it is.
As we speak, ladies and gentlemen, setting it up.
Got it all.
As we speak.
It looks like should be back. But yes, thank you for the banter, Mazza. You got it. Yeah, so I went with the 2-pane over the 4-pane griddle. This I got from the Home Depot. So I scouted out what I wanted last Saturday after the show, and then I kind of finalized what I wanted Sunday morning. And then Sunday morning, I basically, before the fundraiser, just as the Turtleboy's fundraiser was beginning, I was actually getting my order placed. So I ordered some utensils with it, grilling utensils, a cover for it. So I got some good stuff with this. So it's nice. It's set up. Deciding where I wanted to exactly put it in the porch was the biggest debate I had yesterday. I moved it 4 times. Until finally settling on basically almost where I put it the first time. I decided to do some organizing. So I got the cover one, just in case I want to suppress it a little bit with steam and all that. So we're good to go. And I just got to get some, basically a pressure gauge I got to get for the propane. So I got the propane tank Thursday night. So I went out and got that. I actually went to Home Depot for that because I ordered the wrong size cover. So this actually has 2 shelves on both sides, and I ordered a cover for 1 shelf. So I had to go back and, order the correct one. So I did that and I exchanged it and then got my propane tank and then got the propane filled. So I'm going to season this thing today. Then I got to get a pressure gauge basically for the propane tank, so I know exactly when the thing's on or off, and then I'll be good to go. So I'm going to try to get this thing fired up today, so it's ready for Monday, and we should be good to go. So, folks, that's the follow up on this. I'll post some videos soon. Once I get grilling, I'll post some video on my channel because I promised that people want a cooking video. Oh, really? Okay, because I did get the grease container, but I did see that at the store the other day. So maybe I'll go ahead and get that grease mat then. Maybe I'll go buy that today, in fact, because I did see that in the store. That's good to know. I'll go do that then. It seems like I keep making extra purchases, but I got the little containers that go in the back that capture the grease as well. But I'll go out and get the extra as well. But it's nice. I like it. I cleaned it up a little bit yesterday. Make sure it says Kiss to Cook. The biggest thing was removing all the stickers from the damn thing. Everywhere I look, there's a sticker here. There's a sticker there. I'm peeling stickers left and right yesterday afternoon. Got out of work a little early, which was great. And ended up getting it on the porch, hauled the thing myself. I actually had to unscrew the cover because I couldn't get this thing lifted with the cover. It was just too hard to get my arms around it. So I unscrewed the cover, took it off. Then I had enough arm room to hoist the thing on my left arm and walked up 4 steps, got the thing placed finally. Then screwed it back in, which was hard to do, but I got that done. I should have just streamed the thing because it was getting a little crazy. But yeah, we're good to go here. And I'll play some cooking videos when I do. So yeah, tomorrow, 6 o'clock, Maza Media live show. We'll be doing the fundraiser for Kelsey Fitzsimmons, the 16th fundraiser, which is incredible. Glare is going to be there. I think Emily C is going to be joining us, actually. I think she just messed. One second. Let me see if Emily C is going to be here. She says she's going to be there. I'll get her the link. All right, perfect. She's going to be there. I'll send her the link. All right, great. Emily C is good to go. Emily C will be joining us. The Glare will be joining us. Lori Mullen Law will be joining us. Lauren Common Sense Investigator will be joining us. Britt Happen. Actually, Mary B is joining us. Britt Happens may be joining us as well. I got to double check with her. And I'm not sure who else, but yeah, we're going to have quite a few people. 6 o'clock tomorrow night. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. Please be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you guys for bearing with me for an awesome 3-hour show. A variety of topics today. We went over a lot, and it's great for it's actually made for cooking eggs as well. So that's good. So that should be it's on all the images show eggs and pancakes. I guess it's really good for, and sausages and all that. So bon appetit, ladies and gentlemen. Take care of yourselves. We'll see you guys tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. Have a great weekend. Take care, guys. From Maza Media.